No, there's Jennifer's. There.
Yeah. Presentation. It's
But sound is. I clicked on that and you can tell them when they see that this, you can't hear it.
Let's get going then. So item number 3, approval of minutes. We've got 2 sets in here. One is the Board of Review Adjustment minutes from they're both from May 14th, but Board of Review Adjustment 14th is early.
I have a correction.
Okay.
Okay, so and first of all, I think there's 3 sets of minutes. And one, Tim's gonna want to, you know what, we never approved the May 9th minutes where we appointed Tim, so he was obviously not at that meeting. But on page 7 of your packet. On the very top, Jernigan, no, LeBrun should be no. So I need to amend the minutes. The motion is correct, that it carried 3-2. And then I am going to check on B where the motion failed. I do not believe that was a voice vote, but I am going to double check. And if it was a voice vote, I will indicate that. And if you want, I can bring the minutes back to
A roll call vote.
roll call vote. I'm so sorry. Yes,
That's right. I don't think it was a roll call.
I don't think it was either, but I will double check. But if that would be the only correction that I have that I was made aware of.
Okay. Any other corrections or comments? And then
I move to approve. I'll second.
any discussion? Sounds like no. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no, and that passes. With corrections. Okay, item 4 is financial reports. Jennifer.
Stephanie's portion is on page 10. The loan portion's on page 11. The pack of vouchers should be floating through. Oh,
Nearby.
who has them? Oh,
They're on the way around.
Our pages 12 and 13. 14 of pages. All of them, and then 15 is the ones that were paid since last time.
Looking for a motion to approve the financial.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, any discussion first? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Okay, then, item number 5, Sharon Lesberg from Legal Extension is here. And we've been working with Sharon for a few meetings, but they've taken months to get in the books. But we've been talking about the vision of the town of Oregon and extending that, how we survey residents, how we approach the construction of the survey and how we approach interacting with residents. So Sharon is going to give us sort of an overview of how she works her magic.
Well, thank you, Carol. So good evening, everybody. As Carol mentioned, I'm Sharon Lesberg. I am with Dane County UW Extension, and I'm a community development educator. And probably the end of last year, Carl approached me and said, hey, about 2 decades ago, we worked with Mindy Habecker and Jim Russo on a visioning process, and we're ready to update that vision process to re-envision for the town. And so we started talking about what would that look like and how extensive would it be and what would be the purpose of doing a visioning process. So what I want to do is just give you a little summary of where we're at right now with the planning and what visioning is and why. So visioning is a process by which a community envisions a future it wants and then plans how to achieve it. Without thinking about the future, it's really hard to work systematically toward achieving that. And I'm gonna have Jennifer be my person who moves things forward. So, go to the next slide. Nope, the one before that. Yeah, nope, the one, number 3.
Okay. Thank you.
A couple things that I just want to share about visioning. One is that there's a real strong emphasis on engaging the community. That it's not about 1 or 2 people coming forth and saying, this is what I want the town to look like in 10 or 20 years. It's really a community process. And so it's about facilitating a dialogue and really hearing from a wide range of members of the community. And so as we're coming up with our process, we're thinking about how do we engage everybody? How do we engage people living in housing developments? How do we engage farmers? How do we engage landowners? How do we engage elders as well as young families? That's really important with visioning because everybody has a different vision depending on where they stand, what they see as their lives moving forward and their relationship to the town. A vision is rooted in the goals and the values of the community. So it's not just about economic development or farmland preservation. It's about what do we value as a community? How do we keep that going forward? It's used, the reason you have it is to guide decision-making and future planning. The vision is like a North Star. And some things you can do and some things you can't, but it's always there. This is where we want to be. And we've come as a committee to recognize that there's real limits to what the town really has control over and what the town doesn't have control over. So the vision will try to put those parameters in there. People might want to not grow or to preserve all the farmland that there is, and sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. But the vision is there so that it's not willy-nilly development or helter-skelter decision-making. It's guided by that vision. Next slide. Some of the questions that, I put a little animation in so they come one by one, but
Oh.
it's okay. Well, I'll talk them through because we're looking at the outline.
Go to slideshow.
Yeah, go to slideshow, we'll get our animations. No.
There you go.
Yeah, and then do from current slide. There you go, and now you hit tab and you see the animations. Look at that. All right, first question. Where are we at now? And so the committee, and I'll introduce the committee in a little bit, but it's good to start with baseline data. What's the population or the demography of the community? What's the economy, social life, fiscal governance, understanding all that. Should I speak up? I think I should.
Yeah,
You can hear me?
I'm deaf.
Okay, I'll speak up. All right.
You got it.
I'm trying to figure out how to move it. Oops, sorry.
Arlen, I apologize.
There we go. The
Never mind.
second question.
It's quiet in here. We don't have machines going, so
Okay,
go for it.
I'll try to speak loud and just go like this if you can't hear me, okay?
Okay.
The second question, where are we going? So we have our baseline, where are we going? What are the future trends that can be anticipated for the town and for the region? So we'll look at the data sets that exist. Luckily, CARPC has a future vision document they've looked at what is the future of the county, and then we could situate the town into that future. Third question is that visioning question. Where do we want to be, given where we are and what those trends are going to be? And that's the vision for the future, with potential issues being land use, housing, economy, community life, the relationship of the town with the village, with other towns, and with nearby cities. So all of those components are included in the discussion and in the work that we do. And then the fourth is, how do we get there? Now, we won't be developing an action plan or a strategic plan or any other kind of plan. We will get to that point, and then you guys will take it to the next step, to coming up with an action plan. One of the things the committee talked about is that the town just updated the comprehensive plan, and there's another comprehensive plan update in 10 years. And so we were thinking having a vision, a future vision, would really be useful in guiding that next comprehensive plan. So at the last meeting, we were also talking about how far into the future do we go? And visions usually go pretty far. But given how fast the rate of change is, I was arguing that we shouldn't go 35 years into the future to 2050. And we, as a committee, sort of settled on 2035. But as I'm reviewing visioning protocols and standards, they really say try to go a little further than 10 years. And so the committee will discuss this. There's a logic to doing 2040, just because it sounds really good. It rolls off the tongue, 2040 vision. 2050 is really hard to conceptualize, but also a lot of planning seems to have that 2040 timeframe. So the committee will look at that and decide what's our time planning, 10, 15 years. And here's our steering committee. Carl, Jennifer, Stephanie, and Tim have been coming and meeting with me. We're talking about what do we do? How do we do it? And they're the ones who will be guiding that first step with the research. Next one. So this is the process that we're looking at. We start with the steering committee meetings, figuring out what is our process. We do the research, and that might entail getting other people from either the board or the community to help with identifying what are the variables we need to look at and how do we think about trend analysis. Then we're going to hold sometime in September a community information session where Jennifer will be able to share with the community and Carl and anyone else who wants to, what does the town have control over? And what are things that the town really can't make decisions about? And really just give the community information about town governance. In the meantime, starting already is we are putting together a community survey that will ask residents, how do you feel about the town's future? What's important to you? What are the values that drive what's going on in the town, and what are the assets that need to be preserved? And we are hopeful that we'll be working with UW River Falls Survey Research Center. They have indicated that they are available to do the work, and we would put together the questions, they would refine them, they'd put them into a survey tool, they would send out a mailing to landowners with land over 35 acres. Other residents we would target using social media and QR codes and flyers and announcements. So it will be a joint effort. The reason I say tentative is we still have to look at their budget. The survey then, the committee will analyze it, understand what the community is saying, and from that design a community visioning workshop. And that workshop would engage as many people as we can bring in to really have small group discussions about components of the vision and to take it to the next step. Surveys are great for getting a wide range of opinions, But once you get into conversation, then you can go deep and you can have people interacting with each other and modifying, helping each other understand some of those variables. And with all that data, we would then create a visioning document, and you'd have a vision for the next 10, 15, or 30 years. So that is it from what I've got, I think. No, actually, this is the timeline that we came up with. For the next 3 months, we'll be preparing the survey, looking at the trends and collecting data. Then we'll do the information session in September, send out the survey in September, put together a report in October, and do the workshop in early November. Hopefully be able to wrap things up by the end of the year. Anyone have any questions about the process?
I have a question. You mentioned getting feedback from landowners of over 35 acres. Is that just the River Falls group who is gonna go out and do that? Or,
There'll be one survey
One
for
survey.
everybody.
okay,
The reason that we'll do a mailing to landowners with over 35 acres is because, one, the committee felt it very important that their voice was heard. And the experience with survey people is that if you put it out with social media with a QR code or a link, you tend to miss those folks who are farming.
I got you. Understood.
We might possibly, it's gonna depend on the budget we get from UW River Falls. There's a potential that we could send a postcard to every resident. That's a cost, it's not as costly as sending a mail-in form, but it has some costs associated with it. So we'll debate that.
And we haven't settled in on the methods yet,
Sure.
but really, we're trying to reach as many people as possible.
Sure.
You know, simple as that.
Mhm.
So how, and Sharon's got experience and feedback from other groups on the best way to do it by segment.
Mhm.
And so we're just gonna, we'll sort that out. But sitting here right now today, we're not 100% which methods we'll use.
Thank you.
I can
Yes.
interject, if, we certainly are happy to work with UW Extension, but if you wanted to send postcards to all of the residents, we could do that through the county printing shop and through our office for free.
Oh,
Oh, you
okay.
could.
Yes, and that's, in fact, we did that for the comprehensive plan, when we were working on that, we did send postcards to all the residents in the town. So that's also a possibility. We'll be happy if you've got a postcard design or something that you want to give us an assistance with that. Our office could certainly do that.
Oh, that's great.
It's a deal.
Okay.
Always costs. Yeah.
Low bid wins.
Excellent, thanks, Brian.
You bet.
Yes, Arlen.
You know, I'm just looking at the timeline here and remembering the last visioning session that we had. This seems to be scheduled at warp speed.
And you mean the 1999, 2000 session that were
Yeah.
2 years?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
Something-
it's a short process. Visioning can be a really, really long process. You could, like, some visioning after this workshop, they would go into task force. They would have a subcommittee for every topic area, but given one, the size of the community and what we saw from the last one, we felt that this shortened process could do it.
This would be, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just a little bit surprised and delighted too, because this having something like this drag on for no, having it drag on, I don't think would be as productive.
Right, we'll try to do it in this time frame. There might be a little wiggle room because variables come up, but I'm hopeful that we could do it in that time frame.
Yeah. I think we'll still have some, after this process is complete, in quotation marks, I think we'll still have some communication to do with residents and definitely some planning to do based on the results. You know, so there's more to do after we survey people. Any questions for Sharon? Thank you very much. That sounded good.
I'm gonna stick around to hear Brian's
That's-
thing,
Yeah.
and then I'll leave.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Then we'll move on to, like I said, we're gonna flip around a little bit, so 19A is a discussion and possible approval of the contract for vision planning.
We had a contract. I don't know if I have that contract in the packet. I have the,
Don't have it with me. Um, Look, system background, so Sharon worked on a draft of a proposal starting last year, right? So we went back and forth on trying to fine tune it. This is actually the project itself was actually part of the budget. It's already in the budget. It would technically fall under our procedure for sort of streamlining the approval
did you get it?
where. Is it in this packet?
I believe it is.
77?
What page are we on?
I believe the contract
Okay.
is on
Oh, yeah.
page 75.
Okay, thank you.
So that, yeah, that's the document, that's the most recent version, I believe. This is sort of a side issue, I suppose, but there is a procedure that we established before where if something's in the budget, the money's available. In this case, I mean, it was really directed more toward the office and toward public works, but there could just be action on that particular budget item since it's already approved. Without board approval, there would be board notification. But in talking in the group, we decided this is a little bit bigger than like buying
A hand washing
a
station.
hand washing station or something like that. So we wanted to give everybody a chance to chime in on it. But Sharon, from her preliminary numbers for your dollar amount, your fee is actually, it's been reduced because we cut out some of the original steps that we had in the very original document, proposal document. So we've streamlined it. What we don't know exactly is the River Falls, UW River Falls fee, the survey center's fee. But we anticipated to be well within, it was either 12 or 14,000 that was approved, I think, in the budget. I don't remember the exact amount. So with that, let me just ask if there are any questions first before I put a motion together.
We have a sense of what the River Falls piece might be, a range.
Were we going on 8 to 10?
I think it will be less than that.
Less than that, so we're, we should end up, underneath, even if the budget amount was 12, which I think it was, we should end up underneath 12,000.
And Sharon, your part based on this contract is the 1760.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
I said in the last meeting with the committee that Sharon's worth much more than that. It's a big deal.
Well, we have something that's hanging out there, yet we don't know what it is.
We do, so if we weren't certain whether we were gonna use UW River Falls to process the survey or not. And because there was just some budget concern, we didn't know. But with Sharon's fee coming down and then with our estimate of UW River Falls, well, I think we're well within the budget for this project.
Think.
No, well, like anything else.
When will we find out?
I think we'll get a quote from, I can't remember the person's name.
Should hear, it should be soon. He said he was working on an estimate. I wanna, can I explain what they do at UW River Falls? Because they can do things with surveys that are well beyond my experience with surveys. We draft the questions, but then they refine them so that they are questions that are actually answerable and analyzable, if that's a word. So they'll make the survey right, but then they put it in a software, a program. And then they organize the mailings to those landowners that I talked about. And what they'll do is they'll start with a letter and they'll send a letter to the landlord saying you will receive a survey. Then they send the survey as a paper copy with a return envelope to go back to the River Falls. Then if they do not receive a response and they track based on address, they'll send a postcard reminder and then they'll send a paper copy again. So by iterating 4 times, their response rate is better. Then they have students there who will enter the survey responses. Other people will be entering their survey responses on the computer. And then they will take all those survey responses and generate a report and an analysis. And they do a really good job. I can generate a very basic report. They can do a cross tabulation. So they'll be able to see if responses differ by certain demographics, such as are the landowners answering different than the people who live in a new development? Are people over 50 answering different than young families? They'll be able to see some of those intricacies.
So those are all good things to be
Yeah.
having. I guess I just, what is the?
So what they bring to the table is they are survey experts. They're not- They're not,
No argument of
Yeah.
that. I guess I was just looking at what.
Yeah.
What are we approving as far as the budget item? That, I think you're on the right track for having. The cross-checking or having somebody who with the best experience in surveys. I think that would give credibility to this. So how do we get by the? We're looking for an approval at this time
Approval of the contract.
of the contract.
That's
And we
it.
have a loose thing of the River Falls piece.
We have, we don't have a definitive dollar amount for the
No.
quote. So we have, Sharon's number, Sharon's fee. Not yet known River Falls, and then our budget amount.
Yeah.
And I don't anticipate that we would come anywhere close now to what the budgeted amount is. But we would have to come back, I suppose, if something started to look like an overrun, but I don't think it will.
Well, if we've already approved it in the budget and there's an amount in there, what needs to be approved?
Technically, nothing. Technically, it's just informational.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do was open it up to the board, and if there are any objections, we can work those through, but it can be informational, or I can entertain a motion to approve it. Either way.
I think it would be good to consider approving it contingent on approving the 80% of it, which is outstanding yet.
Right.
So that we don't have to come back and approve this piece, but the second piece, the 80% piece still has to be reviewed and approved, and then it's all done.
Right. Or you could craft it as an approval, maybe you're saying the same thing, but I'm gonna say, but craft it as an approval. Not to exceed the budget amount.
Yeah.
And then that would be it for tonight. If that sounds fair.
Are you making that? motion?
I thought you were.
What?
I thought you were.
Oh.
I only need one, gentlemen, only need one.
Here, I move that we approve the contract with
19.
Dean County,
UW Extension.
UW Extension, and up to the amount that is budgeted in the 2024 budget.
There, your second.
Second.
Lord seconds, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And motion passes, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for bringing the full picture to at least for me, to understanding, not just how the survey works, but how it's digested. That's helpful.
Typically, the survey, there is always, but not 100% of the people sent things back. I mean, there's always that criticism. What do you count as I think we had a very good return last time. Yeah, but now if you're doing the second survey or the second request, if somebody didn't send it back, what kind of response rate do you think you'd be getting?
Hope for 30%, 30 to 40%.
30,
It's a
40%?
very good response rate.
That'd be a terrific response rate.
And it will be, the committee will be doing due diligence to get the word out and to the importance of this. So we can aim for, I mean, I'd like to set a high target of 40% response per household, or if we look at household numbers, but that's really high. We'll see what we get.
You don't want to say like US Census level returns?
What's that?
100%.
100%.
100%.
No, we're not going for 100%, unless you want to knock on doors.
Wow.
We could do that.
Maybe. Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Item number 6 is discussion with Brian and Bridget. And Bridget, do you want, I don't know what if you have a preference on order, but Bridget, you could go first if you like.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Bridget. I'm a senior planner with Dane County. And we were talking with CARPC and approached about doing a Parks and Open Space plan in order to essentially help the town apply for funds as a requirement in order to qualify for state or federal funds. And the last plan was done in 1982. And for fun facts, I was born in 1983.
You might stop me.
So I think it's time, there's been a lot of talk about this within the context of comprehensive planning and things like that, but there's sort of more due diligence and like on the ground stuff that happens as part of this. And we would be, this is obviously groundwork that was done then. There's, I'm assuming, more parks and more trails that have been developed. So some of that's already been captured in the comp plan. We'll transfer it into a new document and go a little bit deeper. So the legislation that sort of controls impact fees that would allow you to do in lieu fees for park development requires that you do an assessment of existing facilities and a projection of what your future facilities would need to be and estimate capital investments into those. So obviously depends how far out you want to go. But the legislation limits on what you can charge a developer for these fees. And now you have to actually have like a math equation that determines why you chose the fee that you chose. So those are the big, I would say, check boxes of the process. And I think there are certain levels of depth that you guys can choose to go into. I think the legislation outlines it pretty well. And what you've already done before covers a lot of that ground. And a big part of it is doing just updates and the math.
And on the town side, this sort of originated from the park committee, pull the board on the park committee. And Dave Frankson couldn't make it here, so but it's a two-pronged type of thing. Originally, we just started talking about park plan. Here's what's our park plan, and that's what we found was ancient. And there's also discussion about impact fees. Oh my God.
In terms of park plan.
Stuff in that one like crazy. Apologies to anyone who's born in the 80s.
Or older.
So then impact fees also came into the discussion because legislation changes and then what we had done in the past versus what we're looking at for the future, although all sort of weighted by what potential development might actually happen here anyway. So it's an ongoing discussion, really early in the discussion. But we through, I think, the park committee, we're looking into options for working with experts in this area. And so arrows started to point toward Dane County zoning and you.
Yeah.
So no pressure.
I know, yes. It'll be fine.
Stephen, I'm probably missing something from park committee discussions because I'm.
Actually, for the most part, being that our committee is very new, half of us, I came aboard last year and then, there were two left and, Bob Johnson and with Steve Ritt, who both retired. Dave Frankson is kind of taking the reins on this right now, and done a great job. He's really done a good job chairing this committee. We're looking at, just looking for future. Where we are right now is we just finished up touring all the parks, taking notes on the needs, along with the great things we have out there. We've involved both Ryan and Abel as far as they've got some ideas as far as maintaining, making it easier to maintain, and also beautifying the parks. And we're looking at ideas such as some wild areas that we want to possibly develop. And again, Dave has a lot of foresight of looking into the financial aspect of it. And also, we kind of had to go back to square one and say, okay, how did we get here? And so, I always tapped in quite a bit to Steve Ritt, and we're looking at the history. And again, the model that have come up. This is the first time in the last week or so this particular document came up. So that's where we are right now. We're in a very much of a planning, and I think we have a group of 6 that's real enthusiastic. I mean, we have an expert in invasive species and birds. We have another man that does a lot of volunteering with pets and dogs and parks, and does a lot with Anderson Park. We have the two holdovers, both Jeff and Gloria. And they're taking me by the shoestrings and pulling me along with them.
Oh, great.
So a question to maybe both of you is, so what's the next step? A bridging meeting with the park committee, or do you have a
I think that's,
project plan?
yeah, I think that's a logical next step. So, if, we say, yes, we absolutely want to do this and you guys want me to help, then I'll just copy this on the computer, resell it to you. No, it's good. And, and I think it would be good to come and meet with you guys and figure out like what you've already done, what we need to do. I'm disappointed that I don't get to spend days walking around the parks, and yes, myself, but,
Yeah,
but yeah, and like really pull in that expertise, because the more that we have on the ground, then the less,
well, for your, I don't know if you're informed, you get our next committee meeting is the 26th
Okay,
of this month
okay,
at 6:30
okay.
right here. It's
What day of the week is that?
that's a Tuesday. No, I'm
It's a
sorry,
Wednesday.
that's a Wednesday, pardon me.
Perfect.
I've got 25th written down here, then again, I would have missed it, so 26 on the calendar. I've got Jennifer, so I'm pretty sure it's the 26th.
Okay, great.
And
Yeah, and if you want to put me in touch with anybody from the committee beforehand to give me some more background or anything like that.
I think the best person to talk to right now, who's really got the great oversight of this, is Dave Frankson.
And I'll send you his email. Okay, you too.
Dave is, and he's, I mean, we've been kind of in limbo for a whole year.
Yeah,
And it was, the kickstart has been very good.
okay,
Right now, we're looking at, for example, right now we are, looking at equipment. There's a lot of equipment, there's a lot of needs. Do we replace, or can we have some of the playground equipment repurposed? Are there places that do this? There are areas so up and off of Marie up there, what's the park up there? I should know this. Anyway, where there's sand areas, playground areas for kids, where the railroad ties, so to speak, are all falling apart and actually in almost dangerous situation. There's a lot of injuries waiting to happen. So we're looking into how we get that taken care of. And again, we'd love your help as to prioritizing what's the best way to make these 5 parks real attractive to our residents. And because there's a bunch of beauties out there that I know some people, I don't even know if everybody knows they exist.
Yeah.
Bicentennial is one of them, what a great walking area. Ravens Oaks, I've gone to there in the past, but never like I've done here. There's so many hidden gems out there. Canada is the same way, and we're working with I know Dave has contacted the Tuggers that own equipment out there, and where it come from, why is it here? So we've got relationships starting to build with them. And
What are the tuggers?
I'm sorry,
What are the tuggers?
the tug of war.
Tug of war people, okay, gotcha.
I know that, so there's at least one team user. I think Gary Willie at one time when when Willie's was involved with tug of war, I think he used this area. It was actually Gary and the family used to live right off Kennedy Park at one point. So we're looking what needs to go there, what needs to stay in there at one point. And the other thing we want to do is get together with the whole community, or especially the park communities, and invite interaction and dialogue with them. What is your vision for your area park? I know when I lived out in the Rutland part of on Truman Street, we never heard a thing about this park, and so all of a sudden, oh, there's this park here that we drive by every day, and you didn't realize it was here. And I think there's some of that still happening in the town. They're underutilized and they're wonderful places.
Great.
Super. So the 26th is a plan?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So we have a proposal and a budget to work with to engage. Is that part of the,
My understanding is that we're providing this assistance gratis. So
we put that in the minute?
we should figure out,
Yes.
we should figure out a time commitment.
Yes.
And you know, what that would entail. Because while we do have more resources, for planning staff, they're not unlimited.
Sure.
We do have other
Understood.
things that are competing for our time. So, I think probably the best way to go would be, let's figure out what, what we think, if you've given us idea of what, how regular your meetings are, how long they are, what kinds of work products you're hoping to get. We could go back and do a time estimate of that and then let you know what we have the resources to be able.
And that could come from the 26th meeting.
Yeah.
On the 26th, that would be a good.
My only budget thought is if you do want to do like community outreach meetings and have like refreshments or things like that, that you want to have some money for that.
Expensive,
Yeah. So the committee can sort that out at the next
I'll
meeting.
bring this up with,
Together with some kind of report back to the board.
but I'll bring Dave. Dave's out of the country right now for some reason.
I think Ohio, but.
Ohio. I'll connect you guys all with emails and stuff. That's
Thank you.
great.
And we should probably get an understanding too of what the park budget allows for in terms of that kind of engagement activity, or if it's just specifically for park improvements. Just so that we don't have just so that we know where the money's coming from, if it is something we're gonna spend.
Excellent. Yes.
I think there's some flexibility there.
Yeah.
Okay, Bridget, thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
you.
Brian, wanna
Sure.
take over?
Yeah, so this isn't anywhere near as exciting.
First one.
That's a tough act to follow. That's not a lot of fun. So what I wanted to talk to you about is it's basically housekeeping at this point. But in order to maintain the county's certification with the state, we periodically have to recertify our zoning ordinance. And one of the requirements that the state has is that when they look at the zoning map, they want to make sure that we don't have areas that are zoned for farmland preservation. So FP 35, FPB, or FP1 that aren't also planned for farmland preservation in the county farmland preservation plan. So some of you I know who participated in the comprehensive plan amendment will remember that we made some changes to the planning map to deal with another farmland preservation requirement, which says that if you're going to have an area that's planned for farmland preservation, you have to keep at least 80% of it in farmland preservation zoning, right? So in order to make that work, all that work, we moved some categories around, we moved a bunch of properties into new planning categories. Result of which is we do have some areas in the town of Oregon that are zoned farmland preservation but aren't planned for it. And so under state law, we need to find something else for particular parcels to be in. The good news is that when we did for a lot of most of the landowners, they're not going to notice any change, right? Because when we did the ordinance rewrite back in 2019, we were anticipating this. And so we created a series of zoning districts that are identical to the farmland preservation equivalents, except that they're not certified farmland districts for the tax credit. So, for example, we have an AT 35 district, which is identical to FP 35 in terms of same permitted uses, same conditional uses, same lot sizes, all of that they're identical. So at a practical level, the landowner is really not going to notice any difference at all. And then in a few instances, there are some properties that, have houses on them. They probably shouldn't be in farmland preservation zoning anyway. And we're going to, in many cases, do those landowners a favor by cleaning it up for them and putting them into a rural residential district or a district that's appropriate. So this is a map of the areas that would be proposed to rezone and where they're going to go. In some cases, you'll see a couple of recreational zoning up there. This sounds odd, I know, but those are often cemeteries. And when we rewrote the zoning ordinance, we were looking at how do people use these lands, and pretty much they use them the same way they would use a park, right? And so we've got nobody living there, but they come, they visit, they spend a small amount of time, and they leave. So recreational is actually a really good fit for that land use. So that's what the RER is. As I said, most of the rest are going to be pretty similar. The one that I think is a little unusual here is this property here, which, as you can see, is right up against the Village of Oregon. And so that's not suitable for farmland preservation because that's an area that at some point the village may expand into. And this was an area, I think this is currently FP1, so it's the farmland preservation 1 acre. And it was part of a development. I think I was involved in some of the rezones that went on there. That one's probably going to need a deed restriction because it probably, under the town plan policies, all the density rights are used up. So that one's a little complicated, but I think all the rest are really pretty straightforward in that, so FP 35 going to AT 35, FPB, farmland preservation business, going to ATB. And then, as I mentioned, a smattering of a couple cemeteries around that, we want to bring in. So what we're looking for at this point, you'll get another crack at this. This isn't your final say on it. But what we're looking at this point is just your authorization for me to submit the rezone petition on the town's behalf. And then from there, it will go through the same process that any other rezone petition does. So, your plan commission will hold a meeting on it. We'll get a town board recommendation, and then it goes to the county ZLR committee for our own public hearing, and then to county board for final approval. So we will notify the landowners once we have the authorization to submit the petition. We'll notify them. We'll send them postcards. We'll explain to them, here's your current zoning district. Here's the new zoning district. For most people, there's not going to be any difference at all. And we can field the calls and deal with questions that people have. So my goal would be, if we submit the petition, we'll have about about 2 months or so. We'll send the postcards out to everyone, answer all their questions. Hopefully, by the time it comes to you for a planning commission or a town board, all those questions have been answered and people will be fine. We've done this now a couple times. Now, we did it with the comprehensive rezoning. We've done it with some other farmland preservation certifications in the past. So you've got the process down now, and we know the kinds of questions that people are going to ask, and so we've gotten better. And so I anticipate that this should go pretty smoothly, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of pushback from landowners. These folks, because they're not in a farmland preservation area, they can't claim the tax credit now anyway. So that situation really isn't changing for them, right? They may have claimed it in the past, but once they're in an area that's not planned for farmland preservation, they're not eligible.
When did that change? Was it last year?
Well, and some of the plan maps changed last year, so
Okay.
some of those folks were because of the comprehensive plan changes that the town made. But there were some that, you know, frankly, just got missed, right? So over the years, someone rezoned it to a farmland preservation zoning, they probably shouldn't have at the time. You know, but there was no penalty and, you know, they didn't submit a tax credit, so they never knew about it, right? Not everybody who's in farmland preservation zoning submits for the tax credit.
That's,
You know, so it's not a given that because they happen to be in FP zoning that they actually, and we don't know. That's private information, so we have no idea who's applied for the credit and who hasn't. Yes,
So the two properties that are in RM16, are they gonna be surprised
they
by
may.
the change?
Yeah,
So
they might
give me
be
an
a little bit.
example of that one that you just showed us.
Well, so on one hand, I mean, so, and this may come down to some of what the town's wishes are, right? I mean, because this was an area that was developed and then this balance of the property and they used up their development rights. And then the balance of the property was below 35 acres.
Yeah.
And so in order to say, okay, all your development rights are done, we're gonna put this in something that doesn't allow for a home. Now, RM16 does allow for it, right? So, you know, on the one hand, you know, what we could do is we could just rezone it to RM16. And that landowner could put a house on it, right? Which is a little different than what the town plan would have said when that was all done. On the other hand, it's one house, right? And, you know, and then this all, and they wouldn't be able to divide it without going through a rezone. Right? If we wanted to keep that, that parcel to prohibit that kind of development from occurring, we'd have a couple of options. We could either put it in another zoning district, utility transportation right of way, which doesn't allow for a home. We could put it in natural resource conservancy. Might be a stretch because I don't think there's any real environmental features there. Or we could request that the landowner put a deed restriction on that, which is what we
Request or require?
we could, well, probably the way it would go is we would say, look, if you want to be in RM16, that's fine, we can do that. You'll need to record a deed restriction. Otherwise, we'll have to put it in one of those more restrictive zoning categories.
Okay.
Now, as far as DATCAP is concerned, the state is concerned, they don't care what it is,
Mhm.
as long as it's not farmland preservation. So whatever zoning we choose for that is fine, as long as it's not one of those three FP categories. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. I'm just curious if there is a snapshot in time where suddenly you could build on that property.
Well, some of that's gonna depend on the town's wishes, so what, you know, kind of what you wanna do in that situation. Like I said, we could just put it in RM16 and they can put a house.
Right. Exactly.
And under those circumstances, I imagine the landowner is not gonna object,
Right.
right?
Agreed.
You know, if we could also, you know, in our initial petition, put it in something like UTR or something else that would not allow for a home. And then have that discussion with the landowner and say, look, if you want something else, here's what you gotta do, right? And that, so some of that, as I said, is gonna be up to the wishes of the town about how you want us to approach that initially.
but you've already said, you described earlier that particular one on Lincoln Road has already used up all its splits.
That's correct.
So,
So it can't be split.
pardon?
It can't be split,
Cannot.
but it could be built on.
Well, yeah, I mean, splits typically means home sites when we
Right.
talk about that, not division, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but if you like, we could, this hasn't been, I mean, this has only really been circulated among the town, the town board and the planning commission. But we certainly could, you know, amend this, and so that the petition that would be going out would be something that would not allow for on that particular property.
I'm curious, they've used up the splits, they have built the homes that they
Yes,
are going to build, and yet you're saying it's possible they can come back and sneak one in.
depending on what zoning category we put them in this petition. Yes,
But by all the plans that we've had before, they've used them up.
that's correct.
Because right now we need to have special exceptions, like we need a hole in the head.
Yeah, right.
So if you wanna direct me to change that zoning to something else, we can do it. So.
But it has
this is
an
correct.
R16,
All right, if it goes to RM16,
it's buildable.
it would be buildable. That's correct.
And what, and if it's not,
If it's not, we could put it in UTR or.
why did you make it our M16 now?
Because of the lot size and because, in anticipation that there might be a deed restriction on it. So RM16 would fit the other current uses better. Because I think there's agricultural use there now. But we don't have, and maybe it was an oversight in when we wrote the zoning ordinance. We don't have an equivalent of FP1 that's not certified for farmland preservation, because I think the assumption was you're not in farmland preservation. and You've got a lot that's smaller than 35 acres. It's probably.
Can you scroll down to the, up by Purcell Road? No, down or up
This way,
that way. Keep going. They will, that one in the upper left-hand corner.
this one.
That's the one that's already slated for prohibit development. Is that correct?
I'd have to look at that one. I'm not sure.
That's what's listed on here.
Okay. Oh, that was
Is that
it.
the one, we don't really have the address, we have
Okay,
the parcel number, but we.
yeah, so that would be the same situation.
Same thing. They've used up all their splits. They've used up all their splits.
And
It's technically not
it's already
buildable.
designated as no.
Is there a deed restriction? Is there a deed restriction?
There's a note here, prohibit development.
I think that would be in the same situation. So there need to be a deed restriction on it to prohibit development.
Okay,
But again,
Unless we
deed
change the zone.
a deed restriction is a request, not a requirement.
Right, we can't force a landowner to record a deed restriction.
The only thing we can do is we can put it in a zoning code that doesn't allow development. That's the only thing we can do. The other choice is request a deed restriction. But that allows it to be developed.
that allows it, what?
It allows it to be developed unless they choose to put it in a deed restriction. And if I were a landowner, I wouldn't want the deed restriction. The property is far more valuable, buildable. I can't split it, but far more valuable buildable than it would be if it had a deed restriction
Okay, so this one has a deed restriction on it.
already.
This is,
Oh,
this
that's,
is the Mellon
That's where I'm
property.
making road.
okay, well, then that one's fine. We don't need to worry
Okay,
about that.
all right,
Because it's a deed restriction there already.
okay. And what about the other one?
Sure.
Oh,
That was the south one?
Yeah.
And then the north one is probably, I think I know whose that is. That one, yep,
do you know their name?
I think I do.
I don't know their parcel number.
Can you zoom out
You mean-
and go to the northwest corner of the village or of the town?
This one.
Yep, it's up over there. Yeah, now zoom back in. Where's Purcell Road? Is that Purcell Road?
That's Purcell.
Wait, where's Lake Harriet?
Is that?
New Lake Harriet.
Southeast and west.
Didn't I have parcel numbers on that?
Yes, there
Here's
is.
your-
Parcel number on it.
Parcel number is,
Name them.
no, I don't know the name. It's the 23 acres, right? Parcel number.
That
05.
one, the 23 acres was Mellon,
It
the one
is.
that says the prohibit development.
All right, the other one is that second one. 16 acres, 0509. It's the second one on the list.
Oh, the
on
second
this
one,
list.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
0509. Ends
1872.
in 7200, ends in 70, yeah.
I think they have splits.
They may.
No, no, they don't.
No. And
There's
is there
a
a deed?
restriction.
Deed restriction on that one too.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Okay, so
Those are already
both of those would be taken care of.
Okay,
Already been taken care of for both of them.
So I'm going to RM16 is then,
Yeah, so
No
we
problem.
would carry the deed restriction forward
got it, okay.
on both of those and then. They wouldn't, in that case, they wouldn't notice any difference. Sorry, I didn't clarify that.
that's okay. So and so my question, are those landowners going to be surprised? The answer is no.
Well,
Because they're already-
they may be surprised, but they're not gonna be dinged.
Yeah,
So-
they're not gonna be disadvantaged.
Right,
Right.
by changing the zoning.
Yeah, and we'll explain that.
Any other?
That's it.
information?
No,
So I'll be looking for a motion for Brian to submit the rezoning petition.
I move that Dane County Dane County Planning and Development proceed with the zoning changes.
that's fine.
On our behalf,
So you'll,
on our
the
behalf.
town will actually be the applicant and I'll be your
Okay.
agent.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, folks? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no, motion passes.
All right, great, thank you very much.
I guess on our behalf.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, do you want to ask Brian anything about the heritage?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
before he leaves them.
Yeah,
that's, on C. On your agenda, C, yes.
The top of page 2.
Yeah.
Page
Page number is page 60.
60?
Yeah,
which one is this, Jennifer?
13C.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the top of the back.
So it's the,
Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Interesting.
thank you.
You want me to present on that or do you just want
I
to ask
don't
questions
know,
or?
I mean, other than what you guys read, do you have any questions on it or?
Summarize.
Sure. So, about a year ago or so, the, Dane County, Subcommittee on Cultural Resources Planning, which included Tim Yanacek from your Plan Commission, on it, adopted some amendments to the county comprehensive plan, which called for the creation of a Dane County Heritage Preservation Commission and Historic Preservation Commission. Its primary responsibility would be to advise the county board and the county executive on historic preservation issues and cultural preservation throughout the county. But it also, one of the other things it would do is it would be available for other units of government who want to become what is called a certified local government. And what that does is that if you become a certified local government under National Park Service guidelines, it makes you eligible for historic preservation funding from the National Park Service. One of the requirements is that an entity that's a certified local government has to have an ordinance in place, a historic preservation ordinance, that governs things like exterior treatments of buildings or painting or building materials for the exterior buildings. Now, Dane County doesn't have such an ordinance. I don't believe the town of Oregon currently does, but you do have a building or permit ordinance, which covers some of the same ground. So this is what this would do is this would create an option if the town wanted to in the future to pursue that and become a certified local government. You would not have to go through the extra step of creating your own historic preservation commission. You could simply use the county's. So if you did that, there'd be an intergovernmental agreement between the county and the town. And it essentially one less committee you would have to try and form within your own folks trying to find the appropriate expertise. You could simply use the county's commission for that purpose and meet that eligibility. So there's certainly no obligation or requirement on the town, for this. There's not necessarily even really any action required by the town for this amendment. This isn't a zoning ordinance amendment. It's an amendment to the county comprehensive plan. That said, if the town wanted to weigh in and comment through the county board and the zoning committee about whether or not you think this is a good idea, we would certainly welcome any input that the town wanted to provide.
So it allows us in the future to exercise that option to piggyback onto your plan.
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't have to do anything here. It's just informational
That's right.
that you're just saying, hey, sometime now or sometime in the future, if you want to piggyback on our plan, just so you know, we have one.
Sure.
And you can use us as a conduit for access to that plan.
That's correct.
Okay. And the help with governance through that plan and all that the plan establishes.
Yes.
Okay.
So the other thing is we're having a public hearing, the county having a public hearing on this ordinance amendment that would make a couple of tweaks to the county comprehensive plan and establish this commission. If the town,
It's next week.
it's been postponed. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
July now.
Oh, okay.
But if the town of Oregon wanted to be on the record as, supporting or opposing this particular amendment, we would certainly welcome that input and would assist in us getting passed.
Again, doesn't obligate us.
Right.
It's just
Right.
Yep.
public record of support.
Yeah.
And Tim is still on that?
That committee that Tim was on
Yes.
is disbanded, because that was a planning committee.
All right, so that
So
is,
we're forming a new commission now that
Okay.
would be appointed by the county executive. Tim would certainly be eligible to serve on that if he's appointed. The criteria that the new commission is set up to be very similar to what that planning committee was.
okay.
Yes.
Yep, I would recommend that we do support the county efforts on this. There are a number of benefits. One, we don't have to create our own ordinance. We do not have enough historic, but we do have things that are historic here that could benefit from a larger body doing it. And those owners of some of those historic things can be assisted to be applying for, there's a great carrot in that some of the landmark buildings or property, if they are redeveloped, that there's significant tax credits to the homeowner, commercial owner, that can be acquired and having some help and assistance from the county, where we do not have the staff or ability to do it ourselves,
Mhm.
would be very helpful to our citizens.
So at this point, are you saying you'd like to go on record? You're making a motion to go on record to support
Yes,
the county efforts
yes,
in establishing that commission.
yes.
So it's not obligating us.
Do you want to make that the motion? Wait,
That is, I thought I was making a motion.
I'm just clarifying what
Yes.
Carlin said. Yes, what you said, Arlen.
Second, Tina? Are you
I would-
seconding his motion?
I would second it.
Okay.
Yes.
and just, sorry, the motion is that the board supports.
Go on
Yeah,
record
going on
on
record
supporting
supporting the-
establishment of the commission by the
Perfect.
county. Right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Jennifer.
To that the county develop the historic. Well, what is it, right?
Heritage Preservation Commission.
Heritage Preservation Commission.
Okay, and Tim, you seconded.
Yes.
Any discussion, folks? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And motion passes. Thank you.
Okay,
Would
thank
you like that as a letter and then submit it to them to email it to
Yeah,
you
be
or?
perfect.
Perfect, okay. I will write a letter and send it to.
That would be great. Thank you, Jennifer.
Great.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I can keep dragging you back in. Once you leave,
I've been to enough of these meetings where someone's, oh, one more thing, one more thing.
it's still light out.
All right. Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, very nice meeting you.
Okay, item number 7 is public comments. Anyone, public comments? No? Okay. Anyone online? Hearing.
Lots of people online, but nothing in the chat.
Okay. Item number 8 is discussion possible removal of the tree removal on Crestwood. And that is on page, wherever the pictures of the tree are. Right?
So I got a question about that. Is it the reason we're here to talk about that? Is it because it's in the public right of way and it's our responsibility?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is that something we wouldn't have able to take care of for safety reasons or?
He's unable to, he doesn't have the equipment to remove something that big.
It's a big,
It's a big dead oak.
it's a bigger tree than the equipment we have in the town
Okay,
and personnel can handle.
I brought the opportunity to go out there with both with,
Yeah,
Dave
Steve was kind
Russell
enough to stop out and it was,
And Abel and,
It's a big,
it's a big.
I think Abel said, didn't he say that they would, he and Ryan will be able to cut up the tree once it's been.
Once it's done, yeah.
oh,
yeah, they can do that.
And there's bids that, Dave, they were, what, 1,200 to,
it was Dylan Urban quoted it at 1,200 to basically take it down limb by limb without damaging other trees around it.
Right.
Because it's on my property, so if it's taken down by just pushing it forward, it'll hit a bunch of trees on the fall and it'll damage healthy trees around it. So Dylan he's a professional tree remover and he's got an excellent business and he has a lift, that hydraulic lift that can go up there and he can just take it down little by little. And then once he has it on the ground, I think the discussion was then Abel and, is it Ryan?
right,
So they would come out and then remove all the wood and claim it for the town or whoever wants firewood. So
I would definitely support it. I've worked with the Urbans and they're very professional and
yes,
Did all of you see the quote that's on
Yep.
24?
I think.
I didn't catch, do we have who this gentleman is?
I'm Dave Colasso. Nice to meet you.
Yes. And you're the property owner.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay,
I know it kind of got
Yeah.
segued pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't have a moment to introduce myself. So yes, I'm Dave Colasso. I'm the owner of 6252 Crestwood. And just thought I would stop by and attend the meeting in person, even though I've met Steve a few times now and looked at the tree and Steve was kind enough to stop out. And then Abel, this goes back to probably, I think over the winter. Then I initially spoke with Ryan briefly about the tree and then Abel looked at it early spring. And then it just kind of morphed into, well, I don't really know if we should have the town take it down. Maybe we should look at other options. And then it was a phone call to Dylan Urban. And Dylan did stop by, look at the tree. He quoted me and then I followed up at the town.
Mhm.
And then it was Steve that stopped out with Abel. We measured from the road, the center line over to the tree, established that it is in the road right away.
well with them.
And I have a survey too. I know I gave this to Steve, but I can leave this too with
Yeah,
the,
we have it here.
oh, good. Okay, I didn't know. And so then after that, notify Jennifer. Jennifer called Dylan, I believe, and then things kind of went from there. So, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Either Jennifer or Steve, do you know if, or Dave too, I suppose. Do you know if that includes stump grinding? Taking the tree down is quoted as 1,200. Doesn't really say whether 2,200 with cleanup. So I'm assuming that we'll do the cleanup as much as we can. But does that include stump grinding? We will not be able to.
And to be honest, if you were to just cut it low with a
That's
chainsaw,
fine.
I don't mind if the stump is there.
Okay, so that's fine where it is then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
All right, so
Approval of that.
And it's not in an area that will disrupt, any mowing out there.
Yeah.
Trip on all stumps, right?
Yeah,
I have
it's-
a motion,
Oh,
if you didn't hear.
I did not hear you.
Yeah, I move approval of that, of the $1,200 portion
Right.
of the tree removal.
I second.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
Go ahead.
You second.
Yeah.
You second. Any discussion?
yes, with all the trading of time, does Public Works have the time to do the cleanup?
I think that they have indicated that they would have the time. I guess my only thing would be is, coordinating when Dylan can get out there and when our guys can get out there. So just so you know, our guys, when they plow during the winter months, they earn comp time. And so they take that during sometimes the summer months. So
Sure.
their schedules, they sometimes are not together, so it might be a little bit. It might have to wait a little bit. It's not gonna be immediate. He obviously has been waiting a long time. I think once it gets dropped, as long as
Yeah.
it gets picked up, you're not super urgent with the,
No. no.
okay.
And Dylan will have that in a place, I believe, that's gonna be out of the way. There's, I say,
Yeah.
I say the traffic flow in your area is probably not.
It's pretty light, but I think that the important component is that when it is dropped, that it's far enough in the woods so that when Abel does mow the shoulder, he does not hit that blade because that could cause damage to the plow. So it'll be far enough back, so it'll be off the road and that it won't obstruct the plow.
Hopefully we'll be gone before, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Before it smells.
Can I just ask, Dave, in that area, wherever it might be taken down,
Mhm.
is there anything that you need to tape off so that it's, I don't know if you've got plantings there that you care
No, it's a
about,
good question.
you know, to tape off whatever they really need to watch out for.
No, there's nothing
Okay.
around it that needs to be taped off.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
so.
All right, so we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll say no, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good to meet everybody too. I appreciate your time.
See you again.
Yes. Have a good night.
So then,
Yeah,
will
thank
you-
you.
Before I forget, will you, do you want to work with Dylan and then just like keep me in the loop of like, you know, cause he'll bill us of when it can get done? Or do you want me to do that?
I think you should follow up because I did text him and he mentioned that he was now in contact with you.
Perfect, then I'll
So-
do that, okay.
Okay, and,
And I'll just have him contact you when he has a date set. Or I'll contact you when there's a date set.
okay, that sounds good. All right,
Thank
have a
you.
good night, everybody.
Thank you.
And Steve, thank you for all your help. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night. All right, item number 9 is this, it is a renewal. Okay, so it's a renewal, on page 33, Stephanie has got a write-up indicating that the application is complete with no changes to background checks. She recommends the approval of the renewal. I'll be looking for a motion to do that.
I move to approve the renewal.
You're a second?
I'll second.
Steve seconds, any discussion?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm not familiar with this facility. Is it a wedding one? Wedding bar?
That's an apple orchard. So they have a retail outlet in
Okay.
Alpine. Stop by, they have wonderful apple donuts.
Got it. All right. And we haven't had any issues out there?
No, and it's relatively new, so they take their apples and make them into cider, and so they have to get a license for it, yeah.
Got it. All right.
Sounds okay?
Mhm.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All say no, motion passes. Number 10, fire and EMS reports. I didn't have it in the packet, unless you put it in there. I just wanted to mention that Belleville's meeting is tonight. I've got the agenda, which isn't that valuable right now, but I also have the minutes from the March meeting, so I can get that to Jennifer. Oh, we got that.
I think it should have forwarded to everyone in an
Did
email.
already?
I think so.
Okay, then I just want to mention that their meeting's tonight. We still haven't sorted out, there were no takers from the town of Oregon portion of the BME district, so we need to either try again or rethink it.
What are the options other than trying again?
Trying again would be the next one, I suppose. The other option, there aren't great options, there just aren't great options. We figured that moving this meeting caused a ripple effect of bad problems.
Yeah.
One of us could miss this meeting, which doesn't seem like a great idea at all. You know, every quarter, there aren't great options.
No, I'd say let's try recruiting again.
One more time.
Can I make a recommendation? Could I maybe forward all of you the names and maybe you could take a look at them, and if you know somebody, you do a telephone call to
Exactly,
them?
good.
Sure,
Yeah.
Okay, all
absolutely.
right, I will do that then.
Excellent.
And where do these pool of names come from?
They're the town residents that are in the Belleville
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Fire District.
Great.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
handful,
30 homes, something like that.
So it's a small,
Yeah.
but if you know someone or know someone that knows
Right.
somebody, I think a direct phone call might be better than a letter.
Yeah,
For sure, that sounds great. Any information from Oregon?
Got a couple of things, they once again fired in or swore in 2 more personnel, their students in the fire and EMS in there. I won't go through, I couldn't go through the financial statements, if I wanted to. Update, there's discussion of a training tower. I wish I had a picture of that. You probably, if you've been around MATC or in Verona or Middleton, larger places, they have these large training towers for fire personnel, and the chief was giving all the reasons for why a fire tower would be extremely valuable to not only just the village, but other fire departments for training purposes. It is something that if it's able to go on, it would be something that would be of no cost to the fire district. There's other ways of funding this. I will go from there. Fire chief also recommended approval of the I'm responding software with a 3-year agreement. There's a number of years of agreements. There's a long-term one that would have been that would have saved maybe just a little bit of money if you would have gone to a 5 or a 10-year agreement instead. He's looking at a 3-year agreement at about $735 per year, and it's something that they are able. My understanding, able to do a lot more communication between departments. There's also discussion and review of the station project of 2027. That will be ongoing right now in May. On the May meeting, the commission was assigned with taking a list of about 12 or 13 questions. I think that they're generated by the chief. As far as the premise is, what would the next fire department look like? Where should it be? And what one of the commission members brought up that it looked very biased. And if I'm writing questions for something else, or anybody's writing question, there's a bias that's behind it. So we took that and took the questions and tried to rewrite them without bias.
Unbiased them.
No, it's not the easiest thing. in the
Yeah,
world.
that's why this River Falls thing is a valuable resource.
I take a little bit of credit for this whole thing. I have a daughter that happens to teach college freshman English and writing, and part of her curriculum is biased writing and unbiased writing.
Interesting.
So I said, well, okay, ding, ding. Where can I get some free advice? And I sent it to Leslie, and she very cheerfully sent back her responses along with different suggestions on the questions, and it was well received.
Are you sure she was cheerful about it?
What's that?
Are you sure she was cheerful
Yes,
about
she
it?
was. She liked, hey,
Biasly cheerful.
Biasly cheerful. Oh, that's very nice.
anytime she, I didn't tell her who wrote them. She could figure it out from the writing and what I was doing. But she did a very, very nice job. I just wanted to give the Oregon school system some kudos. She is an Oregon High School graduate along with
Yeah, great. That was
UW and Virginia Tech, and she's doing great stuff.
very generous.
But she did a very, very nice job. And anyway, we're moving forward with that. And one discussion started. It was a future. Looking down here at new business 10 D, a decision on cooperative efforts with neighboring fire EMS departments. The idea of consolidation. I thought I heard some really good ideas of things I don't know about the fire department. They're not, every fire department is not certified to go in and work at some other fire department, but a good way. It seems like he's come up with some ideas about how to utilize all the fire personnel. I mean, when there's lots of calls, and the fire in the village gets a lot of calls. And for example, Brooklyn gets relatively few calls. How can you resource the different strengths we have as far as the manpower? Anyway, that's something for future, then looking in for the future.
That's a big one. That's a big discussion.
A lot went on. And then again, there was a lot of stuff in the budget statements. I would let you look at the budget statements if you'd like to. And that's something that I will keep an eye on as far as how it affects us. But I think there's a lot of really good things, interesting things happening in the village. I say, stay tuned.
Sounds great. Brooklyn? Jim,
Steve and I went-
You're both.
Yeah,
both
Steve and I
over?
went to the Brooklyn. One thing it's the first time I've been to that meeting, obviously. Do you want to speak first?
No, I
That way
want
I'll-
to give you kudos, right? I sat around and learned for about a year and Tim had more great questions and comments that I couldn't possibly come up with. And I think they're gonna enjoy having Tim as the rep, although I'm going back again this month because Tim will be gone.
Okay.
But take it from there.
They're really an engaged group down there. And they're
Yes.
very, very proud of
Mhm.
the work that they do there. They're all volunteer, right? With the exception of Mason.
And Justin's the
Yes.
and
Yes, and so it's a small but mighty group. And if you take a look at what is it called? MOE. They're very proud of their, shaving response times. But at the same time, they know we can't do this forever. We can't continue to shave response times. And it really does depend on the mix.
can I add, they're
When
also
those-
very worried about that because there seems to be
Yes,
a real misunderstanding or a doubt, what actually are they being rated on if they're shaving the response?
yeah, and it's so dependent on.
We'll talk about the MOE overall in a minute.
I think the MOE is a relatively new requirement.
Brand new.
And so I think people are anxious about, if we don't answer this right, could that affect our funding? If we don't answer this right, could that affect our staffing? And so they're a little anxious about it. And when they ask for response times, they know there is a limit to how much they can shave.
Yep.
And if all their calls this next year are focused in the northeast corner
Right,
of their district,
yeah.
they're going to change.
Well, the unfortunate thing is the rules are the same for a Madison department
Yes, right.
as they are for a
Yes.
Brooklyn. There's some inherent very
So I think this is,
disadvantages of being small. With this.
Let's tackle MOE after we do these along.
Anyway, I just think that they're anxious about the new reporting. They want to do it right.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they don't hurt themselves in doing it. There was a little bit of talk there. I think there's always talk about new equipment, and of course, that equipment is extraordinarily expensive.
It's another ball.
And they submitted their report. And so, we do have a meeting coming up next week. I'm traveling with the youth group from Oregon next week, and so Steve's gonna go one more time. And I will learn more the following month. So
Perfect.
that's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so the MOE, aside from the, let's say, confusion at the district level, it's an administrative nightmare here at the office. Jennifer, were you able to sort out like the town's responsibility as far as filing? Was it Sarah that you talked to or traded emails with? I can't remember her name.
Sure. So on page 40 is the form that the town has to complete. So this is the first year that we're ever having to do this. And so how it looks is I kind of explained it to Carl is, I have access to get this report in the Department of Revenue and I submit it for the town. So that means all three districts are on this one form. So we do it collectively. With that, then I give them the forms that the fire districts have given us. So I reached out because we have to certify in 2 areas. If I don't have all 3 certifying in the same 2 areas, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so her response is on page 43. So I'm gonna have to report separately. I'm gonna have to report fire and EMS separately because Belleville's reported separately. So even though they're our smallest district, she's telling me that I have to. What I'm not quite certain about, and I sent her a response and she hasn't gotten back to me, so I guess I'm gonna have to follow up, is there are different forms that the different districts have to send us. If you're combined, you send us 1 form. If you're separate, you send us 2 different forms. So I don't know if I have to go back to Oregon and go back to Brooklyn and say, hey, you gave me 1 form, but I need 2 separate forms because for us, we have to file separately. The fire chiefs and everybody completing these forms are very anxious and so I'm struggling a little bit because how can I make them if I have to? So, and then the other one was that you have to get the data, the calculation. So even if so Brooklyn sent some data and that's on page, in your packet, page 38. Okay, so even if I got the data, there's no prescribed way that the data has to come to us. So what am I comparing or looking at? It's very
It
confusing.
is confusing because my take on it is the districts, the chiefs of the districts are authorized, are approving and certifying that this data is correct. We qualify here and here and here and here. And for us to essentially audit that seems really unreasonable.
Yeah.
Given the way that this is set up, it just seems like an overreach. And an over ask of us to do that and us meeting you, so.
So I think the only one where I'm really struggling is the EMS. So in EMS, Brooklyn, Oregon certified in all 4. Brooklyn and Belleville certified in 2 different ones. So I'm trying to figure out, I need to certify in 2.
Yes.
So I talked to Carl, and so I think that on page 40, on the EMS, I think what I'm gonna certify in is the same that Brooklyn gave me. And that's going to be the first one and the last one. Because first of all, I've asked Oregon for their calculations and they have not provided, and he says nobody else has asked for it, so. But Belleville is so small that even if I looked at the calculations, in totality, it's just such a small percentage. But I want to make clear that, I don't want this to affect the town either. So I'm doing the best that I can. And that's why I think I put it on the agenda, just to make sure everyone's aware. I don't know what else to do, to be quite honest. And
So how do we find our way out of this quagmire? This is a state requirement and
Everyone's struggling, I'm sure,
Oh,
everyone.
I'm sure,
if
absolutely.
you've read the recent Wisconsin Towns Association, there's a
Yeah.
big article on it as well. And really, I don't know if there's any, we're afraid of being penalized, but I almost think it's being afraid of just not submitting the form.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing even if you did something wrong. I think people are gonna do things wrong.
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
undoubted. I'm just sitting here thinking, this is the first time they've done it.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a nightmare on the state side.
Yeah.
Dealing with all the things that didn't turn out right, because this is complicated. And I think maybe, I hate to say this, overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just do what you think is best. You can submit it with a question attached, as in, I wasn't quite sure this is how I decided. And then it's all gonna hit the fan. And next year they'll maybe have it sorted out.
Yeah.
That's
I
how
think we
I
just have to
look at
do the
it.
best we can and submit it.
And-
Sarah is at the state and she
Yeah.
is responding and
And
saying.
it sounds
"Here's
like
the best
she's
we can
not
do."
really sure,
Yeah.
like she's trying to interpret it as she goes. And so I think that, I mean, I think maybe sometimes we overthink stuff. It's a natural tendency,
Yes.
you know, and then, I mean, how much time can you reasonably spend on this? You've got other stuff you have to do, you know?
This time.
And I think they feel, whoever designed this, oh yeah, you just, you know what I mean? They probably thought they were making it easy.
Yeah,
Well, they must have
are all
made some-
check boxes.
Yeah, just check the box.
They had to have made assumptions that just don't fly in
And
reality.
not realizing the complexity
Yeah,
of,
right.
because
District.
just in reading the thing in the WTA, it's like, oh, you know, you might have a combined district that is operating as one entity, and then you have another district, you know, all this, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
When does this due?
Do at the end of the.
Oh,
No,
July.
yeah.
Soon enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I plan to, would like to submit it. I have everybody's information and as long as the board's okay with what I
I would-
plan on checking the boxes,
And then
I plan to submit it tomorrow.
And just add a cover letter
Fine.
that,
Yeah.
that says, you know, I had difficulty with X and this is how I chose to. Please let me know if you need other information.
I think as long as I meet the deadline.
Yes.
I think, let them,
I think
Let them
meet the
come back.
deadline.
let them, I don't think you have to explain too much, just let them come back to you and say, we're going to cut off your funds.
No, they're not.
They're not going to do that.
You used to say, take me to jail because I would like a nap.
Yeah, right.
I think-
Fire me, please.
Do the best you can, but you're right, Carl. I think they're asking us to certify Brooklyn's certification, which unless we have
And how could we?
all
do
the
it?
trailing data,
We do that.
Tons of data.
yeah.
We don't have any way to check it.
Right.
And whatever data they would give us would be just a summary. Right?
I guess if you have a cover letter, this is what's been submitted to us.
It's a,
Yeah.
it seems like a very flawed process. I think just like Lori said, just do what you can.
Perfect,
Yeah,
thank
Get
you.
it off your plate.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Nope, we're done with fire and EMS. Park report number 11. We talked about parks, so it's, well, but not these necessarily. We need to talk about the cemetery.
And I have that as a side, on your, there's a legal opinion with, Carol.
Mhm.
And then underneath it would be the town's cemetery ordinance.
Yep.
And this would just be something you can take home. And then in your packet would be my small attempt at we have no great mapping software here, my small attempt at giving you a map of where the town cemeteries are located. And then essentially, following up to that would be the pages after that would be what we refer to in our comprehensive plan. They label that the burial sites and the cemeteries in there as well. So that's on page 48. You'll see that chart of,
You got the one south or on Glenway? I'm not familiar with that one.
so, okay, so that is on Jerry Jensen's property. From what I know, the bodies have been moved. We don't maintain it or do anything for it, but it has some sort of designation as a cemetery.
But the map here shows it's south of A, Jerry is north of A.
Are you talking about Storytown Cemetery or?
Page 45.
Where are you talking about?
Jerry would be up close to the green spot where the park is. The green spot up in Glenway above A, it's about in the southeast corner.
Mhm.
Well,
So I'm very curious as to what this one across from the O'Brien's is.
Jennifer, did you say that's your map? Is it just?
It's my map, so
This is your map.
It's just a,
stuff that could be.
Oh, the map- the
I'm
map
just trying to
marker
get-
could be.
Yeah, Storytown Cemetery, yeah.
Go by that.
Okay,
Go by that.
Jerry's.
Jerry has something, but.
Yeah, Jerry is.
And we don't really, we're not maintaining that anyway, so it's not
No.
really part of it. Really, the only ones we're maintaining right now are the Storytown Cemetery and Lake Harriet. Those are the only two we are maintaining. So Jerry just sometimes gets a designation and people talk about it, but we're not maintaining it. In fact, if you turn to page 48 of the it will talk about Storytown and it will talk about, Lake Harriet. Those are really the only two that are in our comprehensive plan that are acknowledged outside of, these other ones that
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where they even are located. So, basically this came about, there is really no oversight. The town board kind of would oversee the cemetery at different points and times. It used to be a report, but there was never one person. Public Works would like if they have an issue, like right now, the issue is, at Storytown Cemetery, the slope, that's a really bad steep slope. And they mow it and it's very difficult to mow. They would like to maybe plant some low growing kind of,
Ground cover.
yes. And so they just wanted somebody to like work with besides the board, and they were suggesting if the park committee being a new committee, if they could work with the park committee at the cemetery. And this is just an idea for you guys to think about.
I think it makes sense.
And then in that legal opinion, it just kind of talks about cemeteries and things like this, and then this talks about our ordinance.
So is there a cemetery trust that reimburses the town for that maintenance?
There's not.
So are there any new burials allowed in either of those second cemeteries?
Storytown Cemetery, there's some new areas.
And so when someone pays, family pays to have a burial there, where does that money go?
Into the general fund.
And it's a one-time,
Yes.
The fee is not very much, correct? I don't remember. That's okay. I mean, it's not.
it should be in the,
It should be in our fee
Should be.
It's in the
schedule.
fee schedule, right?
Right.
I know.
I mean, at one time, maybe it was 25, but it might be $1,000.
Yeah, it's not.
I talked to Attorney Beckler because there's a lot of talk about a perpetual fund that
yes,
we should have set up for it.
that's what I'm talking about.
And that would be probably something the township.
I think, I mean, how often does a new fee get paid? In other words,
I would say we would sell 1 to 2, maybe a year. A year, like, to buy a,
plot.
yeah.
So, and does that purchase of a plot also include the excavation and?
No.
So how does that happen?
So for all the time that I've been here, there is Tom Lindley that they work with who does that work
And that's a private individual
Mhm.
who gets paid to,
by the person, yeah,
By the family or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
residents?
yeah.
Okay.
wow. I think it would be a good idea for us to have a fund,
I agree.
a separate fund.
Mhm.
Even if we continue to pay for the maintenance out of our general budget. Over time. It would build a corpus that would throw off some income. Even if it's a few $1,000s to reimburse the general fund
Mhm.
for that cost. I think we should have a fund. I think we should keep that separate.
Does it make sense to have, if people agree that the park committee is probably the most likely place to take responsibility for cemeteries, does it make sense for the park committee to come up with a proposal for the board?
And
Yes,
I think what he's suggesting, if I'm not wrong, we would just open up an account at the bank and the money would go into
Put it in
that,
there.
or
Yes.
not an account, or like start a new where that money would
Just-
specifically go.
Just
I
in
don't
the
know that
GL,
there needs to
just in the
be,
GL, right? I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know that the park committee needs to do it. I think the board can do it. I think that's so maybe during budget time, what we just talk about is creating an GL account.
Let's do that.
And then the money would just go there instead of kind of getting stuck into the,
Okay.
Yeah,
And we may want to considering from a budgetary perspective, how much money is in the park
Mhm.
fund,
Mhm.
that we start that fund with some money. $25,000. I'm just using it as a placeholder.
Right.
Because even at $25,000, if it's generating some income, 2 or 3%, it's at least paying back and with new funds that come in, they just go into that fund for future maintenance.
Mhm.
Because at some point, we may hire someone just to maintain the cemetery, and it would be nice if it took care of itself.
I think that's definitely a budget discussion
Yeah.
topic.
Okay.
I don't think we have to decide tonight.
Okay.
You don't even have to decide this tonight. This was just first idea being presented.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I would like, just, can I get just a general consensus on the idea of the park committee having responsibility for cemetery?
Yes.
Does that seem logical,
Yes,
Lori?
More logical than any other committee.
far more logical than having the plan commission or
Yeah.
one more
yeah,
committee
yeah.
do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's just, I don't think we need to vote on that, it's just like general consensus. Okay, anything else with the park report? You, 11B on here is set the date for a joint town board and park committee meeting, is that also on 20 or not?
This was kind of a carryover from when the
Oh, right,
when the new park committee was first coming out, you guys had talked about wanting to do it. And you know, I think that it was just kind of getting passed down the road. If you want to continue to pass it down the road, I can do that. I can take it off until.
Why don't you wanna put that on as part of the agenda for the 26th?
that's a good idea.
Okay, I know that agenda's already done, but I can see if they can amend it, or you guys can just talk about it and then,
This is
Yeah,
to
and
be
then-
determined.
yeah.
Okay, any other park related discussion? Number 12, pork report?
On page 52. Just again, this attempt to keep track of usage. And we did have these extra hours for storm cleanup, so you can see how many people took advantage of that. And then we were asked to ask people if they had extreme storm damage. And the guys, tried to, touch base. Just a few people mentioned significant damage, and the staff told them to check in with the town hall. But then in the meantime, Stephanie wrote us that we didn't qualify for funding. But anyway, it's just trying to keep an ongoing record for making decisions down the line about keeping this service open and to what extent you can afford to keep it. So that's all that's there. And I was thinking we never did this, and it's helpful, I think. It's just kind of helpful to let people know what's going on. So,
It's busy. He was busy.
it's very busy.
Do they have the hand washing station yet? 'Cause I know.
Yeah, they do, they do.
Good.
Do we, we're coming up on a year,
This is July 1st, yeah.
yeah. So do we want to either in July or August sort through whether there are any operational changes that should be made, or fee changes that should be made, or scope of business changes that should be made? I don't,
Probably a good idea.
maybe, I don't know what our July or August potential agendas look like, but it would be a good discussion to have at least.
Yes, one thing I just occurs to me off the top of my head is it always was busier through the fall, through October. Maybe the really good time to take a look at that would be as we go through the summer. And because we always were, one of the discussions we always used to have is we had that Wednesday, it'd be
Right.
and then we had Saturday. And there was some idea, although we have no actual electronic method of counting cars or anything, but it always was a thought. The Wednesday hours took away traffic from Saturday. And so Saturday, we used to be open, they used to be open until 4:30. And there were guys standing around baking in the sun until the closing rush, which started around 3:45, and it'd get real busy. But I guess I'm just saying that kind of to know when the ideal times to be open. I think maybe we could look at it at the end of the fall.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a good time, and then we could maybe tweak our counting methods a little bit too.
Okay.
What did you see? That's just a thought. I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm just out of curiosity, have we surveyed like the town of Dunn? Or, the other towns on how they keep what hours they keep?
They all we did try doing some of that last summer. I think we did look at the hours. There's some things that I could look for, because I think I still have the paperwork. But just off the top of my head, they all had fewer hours than we did.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, I'm
And
just,
yeah, I mean, some of them would have a half a day. Oh, one of them I'm taking out Cross Plains or somewhere, they'd be open from 4 till 7 on a weeknight.
Yeah.
All year round, and
Yeah.
then on Saturday, 8 to 12 or something.
Yeah.
And that was their standing hours,
Sure.
year in, year out. So, yeah.
It really varies, because like the town of Verona doesn't take any brush, or the brush that they take, they charge $20.
Yeah.
And then like, I think the town of Dunn, they might have like a brush tile that is available all the time. So it just, it's really,
It's even hard to compare the
Yeah.
services.
yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of what they're apples and oranges in a lot of ways.
just anecdotally, I can tell you, I was really pissed off when we changed from Torque. Really, I was frantic. I love the new pickup, and our driveway is 1,600 feet long. And so I was like, I gotta take those trash cans all 1,600 feet down to the road. Well, a number of people asked me, instead of taking all your trash out to Torque, right? And I'm like, yes. Honestly, I have not been out to Torque for a year.
Yeah,
And-
we noticed after this transition, a lot of
Change, it's just change.
there wasn't a lot of, after the first month. And it was, some of it was just sorting it out, you know,
Yes.
getting used to that,
Right.
how to handle the cans and all that.
Yes,
But, yeah, it seems like it was received okay after all of the.
change is hard.
That's
Yeah.
any change.
It is,
Any system-
exactly.
Any system.
And then in my mind, the communal aspect, which so many people
Yeah.
gave us, it's still there.
Yeah.
Cause there's still the same core group, I think, of people that bring brush
Yes.
down there every
Yes.
weekend. And they see each other and they have that, they still have that. So it hasn't really changed all that much in terms of the atmosphere down there on
Yeah.
the weekend when they're open.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I would just like to add, from the office perspective, people really liked the Wednesday hours. And I can just say our feedback in the office is they liked Wednesday. I think we have a lot of people that have seasonal homes and they don't like to be here on.
on the
So,
weekend.
yeah. So, maybe if there's a
Well,
possibility
we
to
may
have like
keep
once a
revis-
month or something.
or we
a
Yeah, even
Wednesday
that.
hour.
You could
Yeah.
keep revisiting that Wednesday thing or make it every other Wednesday. That'd be a compromise.
Yeah,
So we could talk about all that stuff after we kind of get the figures.
right. And I guess, we've been pretty good about being flexible on hours
Yeah.
and days and things like
Mhm.
that. So we've, along the line, we've been adjusting to whatever the demand is. So that's not a bad thing. That's good. And I think there wouldn't necessarily be some, we've done it incrementally. And we don't necessarily need a drastic change for 2025. I think it's just still adjusting to what
Yeah,
people
and then
ask for.
just kind of looking at what it actually costs us.
Yeah,
But sure, we should dig into that.
Yeah.
and I like that we're being flexible, when we have storm damage.
Yeah.
That we can make an adjustment. Hey, got a lot of storm damage. We're gonna be open an hour longer on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
or whatever. Until, for the next 2 weeks, so people can digest that.
And if you look at the figure too, there are people who take advantage of getting rid of big trash items. And they do like the metal, that's free.
Yeah.
And the oil, they love the metal and the oil, you pay something for the oil, but it's not a huge figure in the grand scheme of things to have that picked up once a month or 6 weeks. But anyway, it might just be that we just do the brush drop off.
Yeah.
In the end, and
Yeah.
maybe keep the metal and the oil. Maybe we don't need to mess with those large items, although people do, the people who use it really like it,
Sure.
But it isn't a large portion of the traffic.
Right.
I think for fees, you can always look down the road depending on what budget looks like. I think people would be willing to pay for that service, so we could look at like a sticker type
A
fee or
sticker
something
for the
like that.
year, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't have to be a huge amount, not $25 a visit.
No,
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking
Verona.
something like a year, yeah.
I'm making a joke, but we read that they were charging $25 a load for brush.
At Verona,
At Verona.
town of Verona,
Yeah.
they do. We sat with the guys.
Yes, we did. We
Yeah.
asked the public works guy.
They're not very busy.
No, they weren't.
So.
And they get taken.
I'm not.
Yeah.
The people, the residents.
Just burn it.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a ton. That's like, no matter what the size is.
yeah.
And there are limitations on what you could even bring
Yeah,
in.
there's some that are very, very picky about the size of the brush, the wood
Right.
chunks you bring, it has to be certain size and.
So we'll keep talking about it.
But I'm just suggesting maybe the time to look at it is as we kind of wrap up the fall
Sure.
season.
Yeah.
Because then we can decide again about what winter hours we need.
Yeah.
and so forth.
Sure, and that makes sense. Before we get into the plan commission section, I wouldn't mind a 5-minute recess. Good with that?
The plan commission is gonna be easy because we've already,
We just have one more.
we had presentation on most of it.
But we probably have another half an hour.
But still,
But let's, so without objection, let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll.
it never
be
hurts.
back and go on.
Take the break. but
It never
We've been
hurts.
here for a while.
You were the trendsetter.
Yes, you're all in.
No, plan committee appointments. We got cut short on the
That's
storm thing, so
that's what's
it's on the agenda for this coming meeting,
perfect.
requesting.
I was gonna say that we should defer till when you're ready.
Yeah, so that's all it is.
So that's cool. That's Jennifer had mentioned it to me.
And
So we'll zoom past
the rest of it is
item
not,
13.
I guess one board member, yes, I'm.
Oh, yeah.
Do it
If
the
you-
next one or together,
You decide.
and I'll be definitely wanting to do it again.
Okay.
And then this is
We do.
not much. To see what we're
Oh,
doing.
for the roads. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
For roads, okay, yeah. Well, let me do a break.
Go ahead.
How's your leg feeling?
Just like, getting back used to it. Yeah. But I mean, nice to be able to walk. I just would like to be perfect. So
It's better than this.
yeah, it's better than that. How did your road tour go?
We did the eastern half. Last year we did the western half. This time we did the eastern half. We have got to come up with something wonderful agreement with the town of Rutland. We have some stupid. We have the road up to a cul-de-sac
Yeah,
in the
I
town of
know.
Rutland,
I know.
two of them, and they have the cul-de-sac.
Right, I know. Yeah.
And then we have the one road, in Hoover, I think it is, that they have the roads coming up to it and it has a horizontal stretch north and south. That's just in our section and we have no way of getting to it by our road. And they have no way of getting to their cul-de-sac. So this
Is
is,
that funny?
it's very funny, very sad, I'm sure, and I think our road crew has done a marvelous job of negotiating with the other road crew, but we've got to come up with something that's when we have to do something that,
Yeah.
that we do it with Rutland and I mean, and no, we have just, it's screwy. And I don't see the, village incorporating that area very quickly. Why would they?
No. No,
Why would the, citizens petition in it unless all of their septic tanks fail?
that's why they would do it. Yeah.
That's why they would do it, or all the wells fail. That's why they would do it.
My bike
Oh,
rack-
yeah, that's for.
My bike rack has the exact same little.
Oh,
church key on
I
it.
got that in Rochester.
Yeah.
At one of the, like,
Mine's from mine.
So does mine. Yeah, so does mine, actually.
Yeah. Well, you must have a quat,
Oh, what's that?
a quat. Q-U-A-T.
Yes, yep, yep.
But I want to give a shout out to, actually, to, Farner.
Farner Asphalt?
They did the whole, last Friday, they did the, our whole neighborhood did it. I didn't realize that they're doing anything in Allen Drive, you know, and cars and then, tiny,
Oh, yeah.
lack of knowledge and little pebbles and
Yeah, right.
and the sweeping, and I was able to walk around, talk around our neighborhood, just kind of warm and talk to Abelus and said, yeah, he gets, the only time he gets calls is during that time when people call and they complain about the rocks and stuff. And people were generally happy, oh, they were informed of that, and they did a fabulous job.
Super.
I mean, it's gonna be a while to, the only thing I don't like right now is to leave my house on my bike, but
Oh, yeah.
it's still not
Oh.
bad. It's still
It's still a little bit loose.
Chip seal.
That's it's a little loose. It's going to be for a while.
Is it
but,
chip seal or pea gravel?
It's real tiny.
It's-
I don't know.
think it's a section.
Yeah, chip
It's
seal.
it's whatever they dumped out there. But they were efficient, fast. I mean, and I walked up Darby and up Honeysuckle. Matson's all done. Matson looks really good.
Nice that they did it when it was 70
They
degrees
had-
instead of next week when it was
Yes.
90 degrees. That makes a big
And
difference.
I like the little lining, the little black lining on the edge for all the grasses and.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get back to it. So we'll come back to order. For item 13, we already covered A and C, and for B, this is on page 59. The plan commission hasn't had the discussions yet about renewal of terms and things like that, so we're gonna postpone that until July.
That's it. So thank you for doing my plan commission report.
Thank you. All right, road and traffic safety.
We had the tour, the eastern half, finding out how goofy our relationship is, in ownership of the roads, with town of Rutland.
Oh.
Particularly in the
It's-
presidents.
And it's gonna be one of the, my agenda items to be having an agreement, work agreement with the town of Rutland worked out. We have no access to some of our roads. They have cul-de-sac ends. They have no access to them. Who plows them?
Yeah.
So our patrolmen are doing wonderful things. You know, it's something we've got to do. And we'll be also working on the upcoming priorities for the 5-year plan. And we're finding out that as far as striping the roads, there's a person that we're supposed to be talking to in Dane County named Sue LeBrun,
Oh, I don't know.
who possibly can be giving a discounted, or that Dane County would be doing this. Funny thing, but God, it's nice to have connection.
Right.
But this is something that we'll be look forward to something at the end of the summer where we have a plan for the revised plan for the 5 years working.
I do think, just to chime in, I do think striping is hugely important from a safety perspective. It just, you know, almost any road in town, you know, nighttime, raining,
Yeah.
disaster.
The data's out there.
Okay, it's which kind
I know, no, I
It's
know. No, no, no.
and
I know.
where
No, I know.
and how expensive.
And but initially it sounds great, and then you realize there's certain
Those
complexities
are-
about,
yes, I'm sure.
depending on the width of the road.
Yes,
and
right.
stuff.
And with also the safety part of it is still gonna be getting we've got to be, have a program for visual safety.
Mhm.
That we have so many places
Oh,
where we have
Oh,
disastrous
yes.
things.
Yeah.
We also have a very funky gravel road.
Which
Oh,
one?
yeah.
The little one that goes back to the, to all the dead refrigerators, is that?
Yeah, with the dead refrigerator, that I think was in the private portion.
I don't,
But is it
barely.
But it's far too narrow, far too. It's
like
a,
only one car at a time?
it is that narrow, it's almost, it's primarily a one lane road. You have to be driving way out into the.
As we were going in, I was in with Abel's truck and there was somebody come out of the driveway and they said, yeah, they're just used to going in front of that, just going down the culvert. And
Yeah,
driving back up and they just,
basically went into the ditch.
yeah, and I know Abel, we asked Abel, any complaints out there? He goes, none, they like
We
like
must not
their-
get very many visitors to that on that road.
There's no way out. I mean, it's just,
No way.
it's the very end of it where there's a rental property that's a. Well, maybe they're,
Is that Marvin Lane? Is that
Yeah.
Marvin?
yes.
Right. Anyway, you have, and I'd like to have a firsthand report from the field on the seal coating that was done by Farner. Turn it over to Mr.
Well, in our neighborhood, I give them an A. They did a very nice, they were very thorough. They were, I've heard a few people I talked to walking around, they're, I know the residents appear to be very happy with it. And again, our place in Madison and then,
Counselor
Glenview,
Williamson.
we're down towards it. Anyway,
Glenway? Glenway?
no, this is off of Netherwood.
Oh,
just-
okay.
Just on the north
That's
side.
the Trustler, that's the Trustler.
Yeah, yeah.
Wildwood or something.
Yes, that's the one. Then they did that and
Hmm.
it looks, they did a very nice job. As far as a layman like myself can see.
So far so good. So we have the wedging to do on Netherwood.
Yes,
Okay, so it's coming,
Excellent. Anything else?
done.
Sounds great. All right, Public Works report. We've got a couple things. The Four Seasons or the Four Seasons renovations are on 69, I believe.
Yep.
And Jennifer, this is just
I put it in here, it's just, it's continual maintenance of the buildings, so I just,
It
you
doesn't,
guys
need
are okay?
isn't the standard thing? Do we
It's
need
a
approval?
standard thing,
and it's in the budget.
it's in the budget,
So it's
but
just
if you wanna approve it, you can approve it if you're wanting it for just
It's just a-
information.
I think it'd be informational.
Have they always done our work?
We used to have our May heating
Mhm.
for a while, and I'm not really quite sure how it got back to Four Seasons, but. Yeah, we've had Four Seasons for a few years now.
it's a mile away, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So where,
It's 69.
It's 69.
didn't we approve the Brooklyn shared thing, or did we run it past the attorney?
Oh, that's a different one. We just finished up A, so we're on to B, as long as there's nothing else with A, which I don't think there is. So the town of Brooklyn, what, is that on a page in the?
72.
So close. There it is. So this is just, Abel was here earlier. It's really, this is just a more formal statement of what has been working practice for the last X number of years. So I believe we want to try to do an approval on this, though. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve the Town of Brooklyn intergovernment agreement for Alpine Road.
Okay,
So it just defines
pardon?
a parting line.
Yep. It's,
What- what-
it's already what they do.
Yeah, it's already what they
So I
do,
believe
so
this
I
came
just say,
from-
do we need to do anything legal? I mean, it's rather straightforward. I'd say we should approve it.
Agreed.
Yeah,
So that's a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Brooklyn, Greene County, and the town of Oregon, Dane County, concerning maintenance of Alpine Road.
Looking for a second.
second.
Louis seconds it. Any discussion about that? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Jennifer, do you want to talk about the summer hire?
So I placed an ad in the paper. The ad ran for 2 weeks. I had it on the website and I got no applicants. The guys are pretty content, I think, with working with Hayden, even though he can't drive, but he's been working and he mows and they figured out some things. So I think they're okay. The other option is there's been a few people who have reached out maybe to help if they need to. So I guess for right now, they're just gonna work with the one summertime employee.
Okay, and it's working out okay, moving equipment
It
around?
seems to be working out so far.
Okay,
If you need equipment moved, I'm happy to do it too.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
and I have a truck to do
Sure.
it. If we don't have a truck
Thank you.
available, I'm happy to do it.
thank you.
oh, that'd be
Thank
great.
you. Okay, I will let them know.
Because I think there's times that staffing is short
Yeah,
on public works.
yeah, just call me.
Okay, I'll
I'm,
let the guys know.
yeah, very
Okay.
familiar with
Okay.
trailer towing and
I was gonna say, maybe we should reconsider what reconsider your offer in like.
yeah, no, and I am, I'm very happy to help.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
All right. Oops. Building inspections permits, it's on page 73.
You really need a building permit for the water softener?
Apparently you do.
What?
Really?
I'm just looking at the types of jobs and I see water softener, I'm like,
Oh, not to replace one,
you need a building permit? Yeah.
to replace.
It's a plumbing permit.
We might need to firm that up. We should probably put that on a future
Okay.
To
agenda.
replace an existing one.
And there are, I mean, I'm in the village and I just replaced my decking boards with like composite decking and I was like, I didn't even know it and I work here and I was like, I need a building permit to replace, I'm not building in the foundation, I'm just,
Yeah,
it's $50.
Even,
Yeah.
even if they're keeping the foundation and just the boards. Something I didn't know, because I know we replaced ours and with our contract, we said, not if you're just, but one thing I did is I did it myself with them. And
And ourselves too.
I'm told by the contractor, I won't mention him, but no, it's as long as if you're just taking the boards out, and putting another board on.
Yeah,
Duly noted.
It's good to know.
I will
It's something that I just wanted to.
I want to say this, so we give 80%, 85% back to the Safe Build who does it for us. So some of it, you know, we can work with them on what we need permits for now. We can talk with them.
Didn't see that.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it recently, but I remember looking at the list and thinking, oh, there's some strange stuff on there.
Mhm.
There's a list of things that you should pay a fee for.
Yeah,
Yes.
So would this include an iron curtain? How many people here have an iron curtain?
it's just, yeah,
I-
it's a water, it's,
we have to
it's
have it,
like a
because our
water
iron-
softener device.
Oh.
It's basically the same thing. We.
Oh, I don't know.
we
Like
have
an
it.
RO system.
And
Oh,
it's
oh.
it's a big system, and I've got, it's a separate filter system, it's a
Yeah.
separate, tanks and,
I don't know, we should, we'll throw that on the agenda.
I'll how about I talk to Roger, who's our current building inspector, and I'll ask him, like, are there anything that's like, that he sees as like water softener that question, well, sometimes he does a lot of other municipalities, so
Okay,
I'll ask him.
I mean, especially on plumbing, they want to make sure the connections are right.
Yeah,
Done
And-
correctly,
and,
with the right materials.
Bob's pretty good plumbing and pickup truck service.
yes.
You get. Or you got, this is my home and I'm gonna put it in.
And the service I use also
And I'm just
also has a master plumber that knows the codes.
Yes, yeah.
With.
Just curious.
So,
all good on that?
Yeah.
Let's move on to 17 and building committee report. This is really an update on the remodel, which has made some progress. Public Works office space and storage room too. You want to just chat about how far along things are over here?
Pretty good.
Got a
Got the
door?
door, got the, so that we got the big parts in, we'll have that handle changed out to a keypad handle. And then at some, eventually they'll come back and have to touch up painting and some drywall repair and things like that, so just waiting. Yep.
Pretty good.
Awesome.
They're secured.
You want to talk about the storage space?
yeah, very briefly,
Please.
storage space, we met, we put out some standards for it.
Mhm.
And we're going to be meeting again. The committee's gonna be meeting again to be, is this what we wanted? Is this what we're gonna do? And then come back to the board with it. So I put together a little outline specification and some quick plans for storage room.
Yeah.
And Jennifer has copies of it if you need it and the outline spec. Just so happens he does too.
Does everybody have a copy already?
I haven't sent anything.
Oh,
out to
okay.
him. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I guess, you know,
And when are we meeting, I guess, to for
well, you didn't respond to my email, so
Well,
he
it's
was
not
the only
tomorrow.
one. Yeah, he was the only one that responded. And now we can't do tomorrow. So he responded tomorrow. And now it's gonna have to be the middle of July. I'm gone next week. Stephanie's taking vacation the next 2 weeks. Abel's off, so it's gonna be about the middle of July.
We'll get them. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on that?
I missed your email.
I hope you
And-
send a couple.
Number 18 is the Dane County Towns Association, the meeting, the report on the meeting and report. Is that you?
Yeah, I went to the meeting.
Excellent.
It's on page 74. I just tried to summarize the highlights. It's, those meetings have been very interesting to me and they provide so much background information on a lot of the issues that we have to deal with. And
Mhm.
so as someone who thought that it is impossible to know all the stuff you're supposed to know to be on the town board, they do a really good job, I think, of reaching out, and it's especially useful to newer members, I think, but I think it's worthwhile to come. Anyway, it was the main thing that happened, well, there are two main, you can read through it. There's a new executive director for CARPC who was there and he just introduced himself and spoke for a few minutes. The two big issues that were covered were this project they're working on with conditional use permits. And if you recall, the board members who were on the board last fall, we voted to approve this ordinance to basically, as I understand it, make it harder for people to keep resubmitting requests for, I guess you say, cups. There's a tendency for some people to keep coming back every month. And it just kind of to wear down the planning commissions. So they have this new ordinance. The people in the town of Middleton, I think, were sort of spearheading this initiative, but through Dane County Towns Association. And they're really trying to reach out to make this practice more uniform throughout the state. And just because of, it's, I think primarily it's a time issue, wasting everyone's time and wearing people down. And the other part I thought was, and so they gave me a handout that's the spreadsheet that shows where all the other counties are. And
Oh,
so,
sure.
so they're really trying to bring about some consistency, which would help everyone. But the other point that I thought was interesting is, so then, it's not just trying to wear you down. Well, then when someone decides to sue your town board because they didn't get what they want,
Yeah.
they're also trying to work on the legal end of this to kind of put together best practices and some kind of guidance so that when inevitably you do get sued,
Yeah.
then you've got something and Dicto will stand behind you and.
Direction.
So I thought that was an interesting thing. And then there was a big presentation, sort of like an extended version of the presentation. We had that same May meeting with about Metro Grow.
Oh, yes.
And there's this piece here, that bullet item. We had some concerns in our township about Metro Grow.
Mhm.
And there's this pilot project going on, and those of you who attended the September meeting out at Dunn, they gave us an overview of this. It was a grant through the Dane County and Madison Health Department to do this PFAS testing at a discounted rate. You have to qualify for the low rate, but they've been trying to really, it's pretty new. And if you recall when the guy was here from Metro Grow, they're just at the beginning stages of even knowing what all the PFAS, the dangerous PFAS chemicals are and how to test for them.
Yeah.
So it's quite clear this is gonna broaden out. And one of the speakers, I think John Osbeck, kind of compared it to radon testing, it's gonna become more and more of a thing that people are gonna have to be aware of. And then it branched out into a nice political give and take from some science doubters.
Oh, no.
So I thought of it as, oh, this is a nice trial run. So if we have a board meeting and we have somebody
Yeah.
saying, I'm not gonna test for PFAS because why would I wanna open that up? So.
Yes.
But anyway, I was very impressed with the way that these speakers handled the questions and explained what they were doing. And I thought that was useful. And then the other thing, two other things on my list. There's a new guy, Jaron McCallum, who's in charge of the broadband issue. And there was that branched out into it, something I hadn't thought of, that was kind of explaining why it's such a mess. Because of how there was never a consistent plan going forward. All these companies were in competition to put in.
Yes. the
Yeah,
spectrum.
and nobody, that's why there are these dead areas and nobody, because they were the hard ones to get to anyway.
Right.
And there weren't any nice reciprocal arrangements between companies and stuff.
Mhm.
So that was informative and useful. So I don't have good news. Jaren's working his hardest to.
That's gonna be an issue for.
It's been a while. And the
Yes.
meetings started a couple,
Oh,
there've been meetings going on for years.
well, and I always
It's
just
not-
accepted it as, oh yeah, it's just hard to get out to where we live,
Yeah.
But this was kind of eye-opening to know that they kind of just went in for the kill.
Sure.
And now we're kind of left with this piecemeal setup that's gonna leave people out of the loop for much time to
Sure.
come. And then the last one, there were some other short reports, but this one was about DaneCom. And I put this in here just for you, Carl, because it's about, DICTA has a little work group that's kind of revisiting DaneCom, which is a program to coordinate radio communications among fire and EMS and so forth. And they're that again is a complex one, and it's kind of related to talking about the fire departments and all their different capacities. And it's that same thing with the radio communications. I guess that's an ongoing issue, but they're back on the case there. They're just trying to help keep that program going and keep it efficient.
With our radio purchase and the base station purchase, so we are back in
Mhm,
with the.
mhm.
We never really left, I suppose, but we're all equipped and
Yeah.
working, so
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's a great idea, Daycom overall is a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I guess I find those meetings quite enjoyable, and if the next one, if somebody wants to go with me. I don't-
I hope I can, I forget what I couldn't go last time.
Yeah.
For some reason I couldn't go.
Question.
I would like to, let me know one.
Yeah.
I have a question about the repeated conditional use permit
Mhm,
applicants.
mhm.
Is there a profile of the top 3 repeat offenders are what?
I'm not sure. I bet you can predict.
I'm just curious, if it's quarries, you know,
Oh, I would suspect
quarries,
Recycling center.
recycling
recycling,
centers and
that would be interesting.
junkyard.
Junkyards,
Well-
I'm sure you can predict. it,
Yeah, I'm just curious.
But I think I'm sure it's anything you could imagine.
Yeah.
And when people, there's a certain thing about if you make a rule, someone always has to figure out the loophole
Oh, yeah.
that, then it's that person that thinks they can find the loophole in whatever it happens to be.
That's how junkyards became recycling centers.
That sounds like a decent meeting.
Yeah, it was.
Good.
Oh, and Patrick Miles was there and he talked about being in a, the
Yeah.
Parisi leaving.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Any more questions for Lori? All right, thank you very much. Number 19, we already talked about. Number 20 is future agenda, I'm sorry. Communication meetings, agenda items, the whole spectrum here. We talked about the annexation already. Was there anything else with this particular item, Jennifer, that you wanted to
I just
cover?
thought if there was anyone in attendance or, that we would just kind of say
Oh.
that at this time it's Stephanie, so we all know, but just that,
Stephanie's good.
we don't have a petition yet, so we have no more information until we get a petition.
That sounds like you.
We talked about having our budget work session starting now.
Sooner
For the summer.
rather than later.
Yeah, sooner rather than later. And here we are, we're in summer.
Yeah, it's the time.
It's the time. So when can we do this? Jennifer, you're taking off for a while.
Stephanie and Jennifer.
What is this, our treasurer can help us with this or?
I think this is us. This is into July again.
This is that I would do it and we would just set a date. So if everyone brought their personal calendars, then we could set a date. So,
But we're talking about into July though, right?
Yes,
Past
yes.
vacations and past
yes,
your availability.
yes, yes. I mean,
So
so our board meeting is going to be July 9th. So,
Right.
we can. We have border review on July 29th. So do you want to try to do something in July or do you want to push it into August?
And that border review is the 2-hour meeting. right?
Yeah. Noon till 2 on the 29th.
I'm gone that,
You're gone July 29th,
well, no, I have a medical procedure on the 29th of July myself, so
so you will be out for the border review?
yeah.
Okay,
We just need a quorum.
yeah, you just need
That
three.
takes precedence, sorry, folks.
Okay, understood.
Do you want me to do that?
Border review?
Sure.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah.
That's great. So I mean, if there's 4, that's perfect.
I can do, see, the board of
Review is Monday,
is
July
it's
29th.
Monday 29th. I've got it down.
Noon till 2.
Yep,
Yeah,
So who do you have?
I got you, yep, perfect.
So you have 4.
Or
Yeah,
people.
that's great.
Okay.
thank you. Drag him out of the hospital bed.
That's right.
That's perfect.
We'll zoom them in. Okay.
So do you want to set a date? Are we looking at setting our first budget work session date?
Looks like we're either looking at the week of the 22nd or July 22nd or into August, right?
That whole week's wide open.
Which
Yeah, the
one?
22nd.
22nd.
For me. That week.
22nd?
Yeah, that's a good.
Would you like-
I am out the 23rd and 25th.
23rd and 25th are out. So the 24th you could do, or no?
I'm out the 24th too, sorry.
Okay, that's
20,
it.
yeah, I'm sorry, that week is a busy week.
Okay. Would you like to look at the week of the 15th, the week before? How about the week of the 15th look for everyone? There's a road and traffic safety meeting on
Okay.
Thursday, the 18th.
18th.
It's in the morning.
Yeah,
Are we talking about daytime or nighttime or what?
I would prefer daytime
Daytime?
if at all
That's fine.
possible for a
That's
work
fine.
session in the afternoon, Carl, that
Afternoon
works
would be
better.
Yeah, for me, it would be better. I mean, I can, for sure, I can't do Tuesdays. How long do we usually run each session? Couple
You know,
hours?
I mean, I think we run it and then we just set a date for next one if we
Yeah.
don't get through what we want to.
So what days do you have?
I was looking at the week of the 15th, if you wanted to still do it in July.
Okay, 15th is open, 16th afternoon, no.
The 15th.
How about the 15th? I've got two for the 15th
15th is good.
I'm flexible,
on Monday, the 15th.
yes.
Carl?
15th is, that's good. In the afternoon is good.
So
Would
that
you
is,
want to do like 2, or would you want to go later, like 3?
I would prefer later, but
Okay.
it doesn't have to be just based on my schedule, so.
And I think we should just go for an hour and just to get started.
Just get an
Just to get a
Yep.
overview of what we got to accomplish and
this is for the
for the budget.
budget.
Yeah, that's the budget planning.
Do it.
So I think just an hour.
So July.
15th at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
1 hour. And
3 o'clock.
yeah, and what can I prepare for the meeting? What would you guys like? What would be the most helpful? Do you want?
Last year's budget.
Salsa.
Okay.
Or this current,
What was that?
Salsa.
Oh, I thought.
the current year's budget.
Steve's in charge of chips and salt.
There you go. Look out.
Last year, did we do sort of, when I say we, I mean you, sorry. Did we do a current year budget, but then the line items highlighted that we actually can do something about?
You did, and
Something
that's
like that.
right, and that's gonna be, I won't be able to get that to you now because this is really early, so I don't
Okay.
have any of the aid
That's-
that I'm getting yet. That comes later in fall.
Okay,
Or even like budget items, like, I don't know what the fire departments are going to
Right,
want or anything
right.
like that, so I
That's a little early.
can't do.
If-
So it would be more like, I think what you'd be looking at is a little different than what we looked at, because we're pretty
you're
early.
right, it's way early for that.
I think what we would, so that's what I'm asking. Did you want to focus in on that financing package, that loan package? for
Yes,
now?
I think so,
Or
yes.
do you want to look at the budget? So
Well,
kind of two different,
right,
Are they?
I mean, they are and they aren't. I mean, I think, why don't we,
I guess what I'm saying is, do you want to start planning for the 2025 budget? Or do you want to be looking at a loan package? Not sure.
I think we should know, I think we should, get a sense of what projects are still pending. Either pending because we didn't get to them this past year, or pending in our heads as something that we want, it's not really pending, but something we want to do in the future. Whatever that list is, to try to maybe get to the point of at least putting dollar amounts to it. Deciding if it can wait into 2025 or if it is more of a financing package request. Because even financing would be more, like almost no impact on 2024, it'd be like a 2025 or beyond impact for payment. But that's probably what we've got to go with now is like a list of projects.
So that's.
Like, as you were saying, we don't have half the data for comparing a budget to another, to current. Or modifying, taking this year's budget. And putting in anything for projecting it in 2025.
Well, I mean, I have the
I know some.
data.
No, I know some, but
I'm saying what I don't have is I don't have what revenues we're getting from the state yet.
Yeah,
Which is, I don't have that yet.
And so maybe having a calendar that says, here's when we can expect those things.
Yeah, I have that.
You know,
Yeah.
is that August or is it October? Is it, you
Yeah.
know,
It's about August, September that we start to get those aids.
Start.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't have the exact amount, but they don't typically fluctuate, although we got the really big increase in shared revenue, so, you know, that, you know, so you can, but if you're only gonna have an hour, so like, what would you like? I can give you lots of information. So, you know, do you wanna just sit and talk about financing and I can have, you know, information on the Bureau of Public Lands and what interest rates are and things like that? Or do you want to actually look at 2024's budget, where we are, what we spent?
okay, I think it would help to have both.
Okay.
Just 2024 for reference.
yes.
Right, just for reference,
Okay.
not any kind of modifications for projecting into 2025, but just 2024 for
Yeah.
reference. And then have a discussion about, okay, here are these things we want to try to maybe fit into 2025.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's more of a
Yes.
brainstorming.
Yeah.
That's,
Absolutely
no
not.
bad ideas, what should we put down on this
Yes.
list? Let's put
Yeah,
a
right.
Yes.
range to it.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
I think that would be great, and that doesn't have to be an hour-long discussion, that's a brainstorming session that
Yeah.
says, well,
Right.
here are the three things that are at the top of my mind, blah, 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 blah.
right. Right, I think as a start, that's a really good start.
So I'll put together kind of what I gave you last month, which was like our budget and what we spent to date. I'll have that ready, and then I guess then you guys can just brainstorm.
Mhm.
And then, because if we want to talk about taking out that loan, this year, you know,
What I'd like to do, maybe,
And what's the impact? I mean, we're trying to keep the tax levy pretty consistent, so we don't have the spikes. So what is it that's gonna be available to not have a spike?
yeah, we'll want to be taking a loan out sometime after September 1st of this
That's right,
year.
that's fine.
And before September 1st of that year to replace one of the loans that were,
Perfect.
is it just the $5 million loan that we're trying to replace?
Yes, that one.
That's the one.
It's for the
For the
retirement
retirement.
package for the current board.
All right, so that sounds like a plan.
okay.
Future meeting dates are listed here for reference.
Yes.
You will come to 21, Jennifer, clerk's report.
So we have requests, we don't really know what we want, but it's becoming increasing that our parking lot is becoming filled with people that live across. the
Yeah.
streets.
Just gonna ask, walking out there with
Really?
cars.
Yes.
We
Down
got
on the end down there?
You wish it was down on the end, but unfortunately, it's,
Up here.
it's up here,
a
yeah.
source of income for rent.
Well, you're right, we could sell
Parking permits. yeah.
parking permits.
So,
Yeah.
we're thinking maybe some signage or something that we could put out there that just deters them from parking in our spots
Yeah.
and,
Yes.
you know, and there's only a few right there. In fact, if they ask, we would send them over there, which we have in the past, but it just happens that they're rotating through, so.
Do they park up here in the spots?
Mhm.
Oh, no.
And then they park weirdly, like this one person was parking like, you know, how our cars,
Perpendicular.
yes. And it was like, you couldn't even like back out.
Yeah.
It's very odd, so.
I think,
Do you have a little nasty,
little note to put on the windshield.
I think able wrote a note saying parking by permission and it, you know, but we just, maybe something a
Oh,
little.
road,
just-
road spikes after 10 or something.
Are you thinking just a letter that we drop off down the block or something?
I don't know.
Some kind of-
No,
I'd say hit the offenders.
Yeah, sign.
I think we should put a sign up and a no parking after a certain time.
Yeah, can we put it on the, as well read as the town website is, get something on the town website as a precursor to this for a month or so before it starts up, and if we surprise somebody, say, well, wait a minute, this is notice, this is in public notice. This is not, I realize the village, putting on parking spots, but this is not a parking spot.
Yeah.
do you want ideas from the board, or you just want the go ahead to say, go ahead and do something?
I will talk to Abel and Ryan and see what they think before I suggest anything, but it's just kind of gotten to the point there.
I think, I don't think you need board action.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
somebody
I just,
do it. I know when the truck came in and unloaded all that, pea gravel, whatever, that there was two of the same cars that are oftentimes there were. You had to navigate in there.
so, I just don't wanna make anyone mad, but on the other hand, you know, we don't have much parking, so. We'll probably get, absentee ballots maybe into next week or maybe into this week, but next week we'll have to have them out by the end of the month, so August ballots are already there. So I would also say is I copied you in, I don't know if you saw it, I got an email from the Wisconsin State Journal. They are
Yes.
doing an article on, the municipalities in Dane County that are going to referendum to raise the levy due to, and they wanted to know if we were doing that. And there are certain dates that you have to meet to get a referendum question on the ballot. So we would not have met the date that was June, I can't remember, for the August ballot, but there's, you know, so I told them there's no proposal, but I can't predict the future to know that something would come about for a
Right.
future.
Even hitting or missing the actual dates to get on the ballot, we have done no,
Right.
well, number one, we haven't decided if we ever want to do that, or if we want to do that in the near future, number one. Number two, we haven't had any kind of public information sessions or done any of the groundwork to, so this year, forget it, there's no reasonable way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 2025, I don't know, I mean.
Yeah.
That's open, it all
What are they
depends.
raising, wanna raise the levy for
Operating expenses,
just for operating expenses?
or I mean, however, whatever it takes to run the municipality. I just thought it was interesting because obviously there's going to be a story about it
Yeah.
and I know the village has talked about it, the Village of Oregon. And I don't know that they actually have a
No,
date
I
or
think they had an article in the Oregon Observer. I think
Yeah,
they're
they-
going for it.
Last week,
They're going for it.
Yeah, they're.
But
going for it.
what date, what ballot would that be on? Do you know?
That'll be a year from now.
So they're planning on putting it on a 2025 ballot?
Yep.
Okay,
And they're doing a lot of research in public relations.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
focus groups and stuff.
If the fire department comes up with another humongous increase, which they've already done to us before, which cut into our operating budget, then I'd say that's the kind of impetus and thing that may drive us to have a referendum.
something that I can talk about during the budget work session, there is something in the levy where if we can take the fire out of our levy. So we would take the amount we paid in 2013, which is not at all comparable to what we're paying in 2024. And if we take it out, we could add it on as a fee. There's some things that we could consider doing.
See, those are little discussion
Those will
things,
be
and I think the
important discussion.
brainstorming that we need to,
That'll be important to talk about that,
yes.
Right.
So,
So,
which is essentially what the village did with the streetlight tax, right? They took that, they separated it out. They didn't have to do a levy because they separated it out as a fee on the tax bill.
That they did.
and there are only certain fees you can do, I mean, there's really.
Sure.
So, you know.
But emergency services might be one of those.
It was funny with that email, when you forwarded it, first thing I thought was, oh, she meant to contact the village. I really thought, why are you talking to us? We haven't said anything about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think she said all Dane counties,
It's overall.
yeah.
Yeah, it was overall.
That's interesting for people to know.
Mhm.
This is a widespread.
yeah. Well, that's what the school districts have done for the last 2 years now.
And they did a great information
It was,
campaign.
yeah.
There was a
and-
ton of
And that was
information.
operational.
Yes,
It was an operational, not a capital, an operational levy, for lack of a better term.
Do you know how many, if any of them failed in Dane County?
I don't know. I don't know.
Not many.
Building referendums for.
No, operational.
Operational.
And I ask that only because, you know, if the board ever considered it, if you would get caught up in the momentum of doing it with.
Others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, if that was,
Sure.
I don't know, you
If that was a
hear,
reason, because I mean, the problem with borrowing is that you pay interest on it. And that really, it really, it's the only thing we have, but it's stupid, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, it might not be, if the board was considering it, to do it when you already have the publicity, I guess.
I think there are, I mean, I've heard arguments both ways, you know, don't do it now because everybody's doing it, or.
Hmm.
Do it now, because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Jennifer? At this point, you all, but without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.